Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. People at Marvel. Kamar-Taj signs on for 10 years. Chapter 121. They actually took the initiative. And they actually dared to come here. Caecilius's face changed drastically when he saw that he was actually pulled into the mirror space. All you need to know is that although it has the ability to control the mirror space, even if it were him, he would not be able to use the mirror space. The ability to control the mirror space is still a skill given to him by Dormammu. Although Caecilius was surprised, his movements were not slow, and he soon began to activate his magic. As he cast the spell, the material in the hall seemed to be controlled by him, spinning and twisting and pressing down on Doctor Strange and others. Strange, are you controlling the mirror space? Wong ran behind Strange and asked. I think not, Strange said with a wry smile. Although it can cast the mirror space, it does not have enough magic power to make the mirror space change. He connected with the dark space and gained a lot of magic power, which enhanced his power in the mirror space. Now they can't affect reality, but they can easily kill us 27 times. You are asking for death, Wong said anxiously. Now he felt that the space around him seemed to be cut, like a Rubik's Cube. Moreover, the gravity is disordered, and I don't know where to run for a while. How about you watch the holy place be destroyed? Strange looked at Wong with contempt. If he hadn't pulled Caecilius into the mirror space, Hong Kong holy place would have been destroyed long ago. The Doctor and Wong had no choice but to fight and retreat, and Strange had no chance to grab the ring. This results in Strange being able to escape from the mirror space at any time. Therefore, Star and Sea had to fight and retreat, and harass them from time to time to prevent them from using teleportation magic and escaping the mirror space. However, this battle was almost one-sided. Under the control of Caecilius, the world was affected by Caecilius in a very wide range. Under the control of Caecilius's magic power, not only this hall, but also all the high-rise buildings and houses within a radius of several miles seemed to be knocked down by him. The tall buildings twisted, then twisted at incredible angles, even shapeshifting. Under his control, even the gravity of this space has changed. In some places, the gravity is downward, in some places, the gravity is to the left, and in some places, it is to the right. The gravity is even upward in some places, and this space is completely chaotic. It seems that everything is under the control of Caecilius and can move at will. Although I have never used the mirror space, the level of operation is not like the first time. Maybe it was Dormammu who taught Caecilius. Dormammu. After all, I have been trapped a lot and have gained experience. Wong and Strange were dodging wildly in this world, and a building would knock them down at every turn. Simply more proud than Tony. Tony needs at least a second or two to buy a building. This guy can buy a building just by thinking about it. Although Caecilius can control the shape and other changes of these substances at will, he can't stand Strange's equipment. A levitation cloak is worn on the body. When in danger, the levitation cloak activates immediately and floats in the air, with only slight impact. Wong, on the other hand, grabbed Strange's leg with one hand and flew in the air. When in danger, skillfully use magic defense with one hand. But facing the powerful Caecilius, Strange and Wong were a little overwhelmed. Under the siege of several people, Tien and Strange were forced into a corner. Do you want to use the portal to run? Strange said to Wong. If you can run away, the monk can't run away from the temple. If you can't fight, you will be cold sooner or later. Where is Teacher Ancient One at this time? We have delayed it for so long, why hasn't she arrived yet? Strange built this magic shield and shouted to the sky. You can't escape. Caecilius condensed the dimensional blade in his hand. Stabbed at Strange, but at this moment, the ground under Strange and Wang's feet began to recede. Then the ground under everyone's feet also began to change, dividing the dark magician. Caecilius, did you do this? The dark magician asked doubtfully. No, she's here. Caecilius looked solemn. The Ancient One wore a yellow robe, and a continent fell from the sky with a Modu driver wearing a blue robe. Don't worry, my teacher will come to save you right now. With the waving motion of the Ancient One, the materiality of this world seemed to hand over control. Facing these distorted substances that declared war, the Ancient One looked quite calm, as if there was no problem at all. With a gentle push of the palm, invisible power appeared, affecting the changes of these materials. Seeing the materials pressing towards Ancient One and others, they stopped as Ancient One moved. Moreover, a large arena appeared in front of everyone, and even under the control of Ancient One, an IBG graphic of Sister Kamatai appeared on it. Just like a certain Kakashi, no matter how little mana he has, he still wants to carve a dog on top of his earth escape. Kakashi, this is not refinement, this is faith. Ancient One Magician, you actually have the same magic inscription on your forehead as Caecilius. Modu looked at the Ancient One Magician in surprise, as if he had discovered some kind of heart continent. The Ancient One Magician didn't pay attention to Modu Magician's surprised look. Modu Magician was good at everything. He was a qualified warrior. His only shortcoming was that he was too stubborn. Too pedantic. Even if the Ancient One has lived for more than 500 years, he is not as pedantic as Modo. I grabbed this dark energy based on my ability, why can't I use it? Before the Ancient One could explain to Mordo, Caecilius and his followers jumped onto the platform. Caecilius interrupted Mordo directly. Would simply controlling the mirror space require revealing Dormammu's inscription? Definitely not necessary. The Ancient One would definitely not be such a slut. He controlled a little magic power to reveal this inscription. Knowing that she had saved the world so many times without being exposed, how could she be exposed so easily? This is definitely for others to see. I made it for Mordo and Strange to see, and I had to pretend that I was having a hard time doing it. Ancient One. Yes, I am acting. Not only do I have to act, I also want to act even more excessively. Although Caecilius panicked when he saw the arrival of the Ancient One, he quickly came to his senses. Caecilius also uses magic to control everything in the mirror space, first gathering his followers together. Caecilius. The Ancient One Magician looked at Caecilius in front of him quietly. Then he started circling around the outside of the ring. Ancient One Magician, at that time I was desperate, confused, and helpless. I trusted you and respected you as my teacher, but you deceived me with lies. Caecilius stared at the Ancient One with dark circles under his eyes revealing endless anger. In order to prepare for the sudden attack of the Ancient One Magician, he also followed the Ancient One. I'm protecting you. Ancient One persuaded her earnestly, but her figure was getting farther and farther away from Strange, Mordo and others. Ancient One. This distance is almost there. I guess they won't be able to support us either. Aren't you going to let me know the truth? Caecilius said mockingly. But she didn't realize the Ancient One's intention at all. I won't let you hurt yourself. Ancient One settled down and started the mentor mode again. He definitely knew that Caecilius, who had become a believer in Dormammu, could not be persuaded to come back. If you are persuaded to come back, that's just a joke. You have to tear up the script to get Ancient One. Now I have a new mentor. Caecilius disagreed, not knowing at all that he was following the Ancient One's script. Dormammu is deceiving you. You don't even know his true face. His so-called eternal life is not heaven, but endless torture. The Ancient One is right, becoming a believer in Dormammu is indeed like this. But Ancient One didn't say the last sentence, you can have sex for free. Being a disciple of Dormammu is such a great prospect. Anyway, Dormammu has so much energy, just grabbing a little bit back is enough for an ordinary magician to use for a lifetime. The absolute premise is not to let your mind be affected by Dormammu's dark energy. Liar. I have gained great power from Dormammu, even surpassing your power. Obviously Caecilius does not believe this, so much so that he firmly believes that his power has surpassed the Ancient One. Caecilius's tyrannical magic surged, and a building under his control crashed directly towards the Ancient One. Ancient One, no nonsense, the ancient body of hogs. With the use of magic, the building directly turned into a butterfly, which can be said to be a relatively strong auxiliary move. After removing Caecilius's magic, the Ancient One waved his hand, and powerful magic emerged, turning into a mysterious magic circle. Visible to the naked eye, this magic circle seemed to turn into a giant curtain covering the sky, quickly covering a 10-mile radius. Immediately, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, and all the high-rise buildings could be seen flying into the air. Isn't the lifespan of the Ancient One about to reach its limit? How can it still have such powerful magic power? Facing the power of buildings within a 10-mile radius flying up and preparing to crash down on him, Caecilius began to think about retreating. The power of the Ancient One was beyond his expectation. Looking at this scene, Caecilius's face turned ugly. The same Ancient One also discovered this. Did he go too far and give the other party a chance? But I am already letting myself out into the sea. At this time, should I say that I have some magic power shortage? However, Caecilius used all his strength to activate his magic power and barely resisted the Ancient One magician's attack. Ancient One knew it was time to let go. There was no forcible suppression. Caecilius also knew that the opportunity had come, so he immediately ordered his men to attack the Ancient One. Looking at the magician rushing towards him, Gu didn't panic at all, holding a fan-shaped magic shield on both sides of his hands. It easily resisted the attacks of these magicians. Ancient One, why don't you use a buckler or a magic sword? That's because I'm afraid I might kill you accidentally. Seeing that everyone was outnumbered, Caecilius also began to join the battle. A magician's weakness is melee. This is true without special circumstances, but for the Ancient One this condition does not seem to hold. And how good is Caecilius in melee combat, and who taught him? Not yet Ancient One. Want to kill the Ancient One head-on with melee combat alone. As long as the Ancient One is not suffering from cerebral congestion, Caecilius basically has no chance of achieving the solo kill of the Ancient One. Moreover, even if the Ancient One wants to be waterproof, it cannot be made obvious and must be disguised as careless. Therefore, the Ancient One has a lot of strength. No matter how waterproof it is, it cannot be put to a level that cannot be defeated in close combat. Especially when there are Modu, King, and others on the edge. These people were sent outside the ring before and will not be able to support them for a while. Caecilius also wanted to release a wave of magic power to control Ancient One, but Ancient One suppressed him with a backhand. Ancient One's performance was like not giving him a chance. Even Caecilius felt like he had slipped away. In his perception, the Ancient One's magic power, spells and even melee combat were superior to his own. Fortunately, there is the power of the Dark Dimension as backup, otherwise Caecilius really feels that he cannot withstand it. Want to leave. However, looking at Caecilius's movements, he felt a desire to leave. Ancient One frowned. How can I leave here? Have you ever asked yourself? Caecilius said. Even if he didn't want to leave and wanted to fight you, would you give him a chance? Wu Zhao. In terms of an actor's self-cultivation, Ancient One is obviously still a little bit behind. This actor is not professional at all. But fortunately, Caecilius secretly took out the Zon ring and drew a portal in the air. Caecilius positioned himself for a moment and pounced on the followers in front of the Ancient One. Ancient One saw this. The opportunity has come. Looking at the dark magician in front of him, Ancient One magician did not make a killing move, even the other dark magicians did the same. The Ancient One magician used his locking skills to control the dark magician and prevent it from moving, but he himself couldn't get out for a while. Upon seeing this, Caecilius immediately drew out his dimensional blade, and took advantage of the Ancient One magician to, accidentally, hit him with a candied hawse of sugarcane. Ancient One, it's not enough to release a Pacific Ocean. I also need to release a sea of stars before you can kill me. If you don't take action, I don't know how to act. Seeing that the Ancient One magician was fighting against 5 and was seriously injured, the 3 magicians arrived belatedly. Ancient One, the timing is very nice. Caecilius kicked the Ancient One out of the portal as soon as he woke up. The Ancient One fell directly from 1,000 meters in the air. During this period, Ancient One did not even take any defensive measures. Instead, he exposed his most vulnerable part and turned off the defensive restrictions on his robe. The most important thing is that in order to seriously injure Xiaoguo, she also used a large and reflective bald head to land first. Su Chen, who was observing in secret, couldn't help but take a breath and thought, this Ancient One is so cruel to me. Then the magician trio also passed through the portal one by one to rescue the Ancient One magician. The fastest among them is his close disciple, Staran Si. Seeing the Ancient One fall from a tall building, Strange immediately returned to his original profession. Myocardial contusion, massive internal bleeding, and still breathing. But there is hope. In the end, the unconscious Ancient One almost didn't slap Starin C in the face. How could you save me? Let me die. After speaking, Strange opened the portal to the previous hospital, picked up the Ancient One magician and went to the emergency room. After Strange's hand healed, he can now perform his own surgery to rescue the Ancient One. Christine, come and help me, there is a serious patient. Strange opened a portal in the hall regardless of everyone's surprised looks, and then called his ex-girlfriend. Strange, no, is it because I haven't seen Strange hallucinate for a long time? But when I looked back, I saw Strange in strange clothes appearing in the operating room, along with a critically ill patient. After pushing Ancient One into the operating room, Starin sent the knife. Christine, is your hand healed? Yes, I will be the surgeon next, and you will be my assistant. First, perform intracranial decompression on him. Strange's eyes were firm, saying that the hospital is my home field, and I will not just let a patient die on my operating table. At the same time, Strange exudes a kind of confidence that only a strong person can have. The spirit of a king. The heartbeat is slowing down. Christine shouted. We'll provide him with oxygen right away. Quick, quick, let's take action. Strange arranged the operation in an orderly manner, and because he had become a magician, even Strange, who had not undergone surgery for a long time, lined up. He also dealt with such a major surgery in an orderly manner and with ease. Ancient One, who was in a coma, only felt that the rate of loss of his life force was decreasing and slowing down. It even rebounded in some cases. Teacher, I won't let you die so easily. When the Ancient One heard Strange's muttering, he felt even more angry. How can I die so easily? It's not easy for me to die. Please don't save me. Let me die. If I don't die, how can I educate you ideologically? Ancient One feels so tired. However, the anger just now seemed to have caused a slight change in her heart rate, which actually caused some trouble for Strange. But fortunately, Strange saved the day with his super high medical technology. Ancient One seems to have discovered the best way to open the strategy. So the Ancient One constantly creates trouble for Strange, just for one purpose, and that is to seek death. The pupils are dilated. She's going to die, Christine said to Starin C. Don't jump to conclusions so early, it's still too early. So Strange once again rescued Tongue, who was on the verge of death. This time Ancient One was completely at his wit's end, and he even wanted to call Strange out to talk in his soul form. But Strange, who was concentrating on the operation, felt nothing at all and was focused on the rescue. In the end, Ancient One was so angry that he had no choice. Seeing that Dr. Strange was about to save himself, Ancient One didn't even say a word. Everyone suddenly fell into despair, as if the yellow robe was trapped in gray worms. Even Su Chen, who was observing in the dark, couldn't help but hold her stomach and laugh wildly. What is rhythm? But life is full of surprises. A bolt of lightning struck the hospital and landed on the lightning rod, which had an exposed wire on it. The operating room suddenly went dark, the backup power supply was turned on, and Ancient One's body was scorched by electricity. A large amount of equipment was destroyed by previous lightning. For a while, Strange didn't know exactly how to operate it. Ancient One, God help me, I finally got my box lunch. But it was at this moment that he felt the spirit of the Ancient One. So the soul instantly left the body, and after seeing a yellow shadow leaving, he immediately followed it. Ancient One Magician, please, go back to your body, you will die. Soon Ancient One and Strange arrived at the balcony window. Go back into your body, there's no time. You're going to die. Strange persuaded the Ancient One. The Ancient One returned to the body and used the power of his soul to control the magic in the body, protect the body, and save him. Time is relative. You haven't adapted to the role of magician yet. The Ancient One breathed a sigh of relief. Who wants to go back? I came here just to die. Yes, I'm not used to it. I'm a doctor, Strange defended. I spent a lot of time peeking into the future, but at this point in time, I can't survive it. I've prevented countless terrible events, but bad things always keep coming. Ancient One sighed and said, Ancient, has been playing with this time. Time should also play with Ancient One, is there nothing wrong with it? I've reached the end. Do you think you are going to die like this? You still have Kamar-Taj. Strange also wanted to persuade the Ancient One to change his mind, but unfortunately he did not have a degree in psychology. There is no way to face this Ancient One who wants to die. You are pure, kind and outstanding by nature. You don't desire success so much. You are just afraid of failure. That's why I became a successful doctor. Strange laughed at himself. This is also the reason why you are not great enough. You are too limited. Your arrogance and fear make you ignorant of the simplest but most important things. The meaning of life is not about yourself. Looking at the closed disciple in front of him, he continued his persuasion. With such good ability, wouldn't it be a pity to be a doctor? Ancient One life coach ability lights up directly. Studying medicine cannot save the world, but studying Dharma can. Strange, when you first came here, you asked me how I cured Pamberlon. In fact, I didn't cure him. He walked with the power of his own subject space. Does he rely on magic? Starency was shocked. He always thought that Kamar-Taj had the cure he wanted, but it seemed that he didn't. When faced with a choice, should he return to his own life or dedicate himself to a more noble goal? I'm not willing to draw energy from the dark world, but you also know that sometimes someone has to break the rules in order to pursue what I consider to be higher ideals. But the magicians of Kamar-Taj don't think so, especially Mordo. Strange explained. Modu is stubborn by nature and doesn't know how to adapt. This is due to his growing environment, so he can only become a warrior. A warrior with a goal. He needs to learn your flexibility, and you also need to learn his perseverance. Only when you complement each other and fight side by side can you hope to win. Only then can you defeat Dormammu. The Ancient One glanced at Strange and the time gem on his chest. Fortunately, he didn't use the time gem to go back, otherwise he really wouldn't have died. Death is the true meaning of life. It makes people know how to cherish time. The long life makes me tired. Now I will leave the task of defeating Dormammu to you. I believe in you, you have the strength. The Ancient One magician looked at Strange quietly. If you want Strange to agree, you just need to agree. With Strange's character, the matter will be settled. What about Su Chen? Strange asked from the soul. Quote. Ancient One magician's face was calm, but his heart was already full of black lines. That Su Chen, how do I know that compared to Su Chen, only you are more suitable for Sorcerer Supreme? Yin Chen is not considered. After all, Su Chen will disappear in a while. What will Su Chen use to make Sorcerer Supreme? Use your butt. Su Chen will help you become the Sorcerer Supreme. He will help you until Strange can stand alone. So, okay, I agree. The Ancient One magician disappeared before Starency finished speaking. Strange returned to his body and found that the Ancient One magician had lost his eyesight and was obviously dead. At this time, the door of the rescue room was suddenly opened. I saw Su Chen walking in with two magicians. What Ancient One magician passed away? Su Chen acted shocked, saying that he didn't know anything, and frowned. Strange was silent and said, I'm sorry, there was an accident and I couldn't save her. Strange, it's okay, isn't he just dead? What a big deal, leave the rest to me. Su Chen nodded, the Ancient One magician has lived for hundreds of years, and now he has died. This is a happy event. Why are you all so sad? You should be like me, hiding your sadness in your heart and trying to be happy on your face. Strange, Mordo, don't be too busy. According to tradition, remember to set up the flowing water mat. Then find a troupe to set up a stage in front of the morning hall and sing for 3 days and 3 nights. You shouldn't save money at this time. I won't say it anymore. I can still afford this amount of money, I'll cover it all. Wang's face was full of black lines, and he advised Su Chen magician, we Kamar-Taj don't seem to have this tradition, right? What are you talking about? Kamar-Taj is near the Himalayas. Isn't this the tradition of the nearby residents? Don't be afraid of trouble. Even the surrounding residents have invited them. I'll pay for it. Su Chen's words struck a chord in the most decedent emergency room, leaving the 3 magicians speechless. For a moment, I even forgot about Dormammu. Strange came forward and said, Su Chen magician, Ancient One magician died, I understand your sadness, but you should not force your smile like this, it is not good for your health. Sad? Why should I be sad? Today's drama will keep me laughing for a whole year, and it won't even make me laugh for the next 10 years. Su Chen looked at the sadness of everyone and wondered if he would be beaten by them if he smiled. Su Chen squeezed her eyes hard, forcing them to turn red. She suppressed her smile, but she couldn't cry. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it back. Ha 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 ha. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that my acting skills would fail sometimes. Su Chen couldn't help it anymore. It was really a disgrace in this sad environment. Su Chen magician, Ancient One magician is really dead, please decedent. Mordo came forward with a dark face, although he was a little unhappy about the Ancient One using the power of the dark dimension. But the fact that Ancient One has always been his teacher has never changed, and he still has a little respect for him. However, Su Chen was so angry at Deadman's attitude that he would not pay for his life, which made him very unhappy. What's the matter? I'll perform a great transformation for you. After saying that, Su Chen took out an artifact and prepared to use lynching on Ancient One's body. When Ancient One was having a good chat with Strange, he suddenly felt a suction force on his soul. Is it the eternal God calling me? Then he relaxed his body control. After the world was spinning, when he returned to consciousness, he found that he was still in the emergency room. The doctor had left, leaving only 4 magicians. One of them is the person he least wants to see. She also heard some very disrespectful words towards him. But in order to retire, she endured it. Hold it in. For a better tomorrow. But as Su Chen laughed wildly, Ancient One suddenly felt that something was wrong. But he realized that something was wrong and still chose to pretend to be dead. Su Chen. Sure enough, the last thing he wanted to see was what happened. Su Chen took out the tickler and took off her shoes, which had not changed much in 500 years. Hold the tickler. Scratching his corpse. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. Ancient One couldn't hold it back and sat up directly from the bed in the emergency room. You're cheating. Ancient One magician, wake up. Kamar-Taj has been exposed to the sun. Su Chen shouted crazily in Ancient One's ear. This disrespectful behavior towards decedent is seen as blasphemy to decedent by the remaining 3 people. But they were surprised to find that the Ancient One magician's originally expressionless face had some changes. You become a little angry, as if you had stayed up all night on Sunday yesterday, and just when you went to bed, the alarm clock rang to remind you that you had to go to work. This expression is nothing, but it appears on a decedent. This is rather weird and supernatural. Uncle Ju, your coffin can't be covered anymore. Wong complained crazily in his heart. Seeing this, it was probably Su Chen who had revived the Ancient One, and Wong didn't say anything. I knew you were not dead. You had to know that after you were struck by lightning, I was downstairs trying my best to give you milk. If you died, wouldn't you be slapping me in the face? Su Chen looked at the Ancient One, who sat up in shock and said. The Ancient One remained silent. She was the Sorcerer Supreme and needed to rest. You can't get along with this Su Chen, who is not yet 20 and has a bad temper. But, where's my knife? Ancient One magician feels that the expressions he has cultivated for many years are about to break down. Su Chen, aren't you guarding New York's holy place? Now that you're here, what will happen to New York's holy place? Ancient One suppressed his irritable mood and put on his shoes. Ha! Su Chen laughed at Ancient One's question. Look at what you said, Ancient One magician. Since the last magician invasion, for the safety of Holy Place, I have engraved a large number of defensive formations around Holy Place. Without hundreds of thousands of magicians bombarding the door, it would be impossible to defeat them in a short while. Ancient One Wen Yan's mouth twitched and she looked at Su Chen speechlessly. No. I still have to find my knife. Su Chen looked at this humorless Ancient One. He was 500 years old and couldn't even make such a joke. I can't bear this kind of blow. The soul of a migrant worker has taken on the responsibility of protecting the earth, where it is so easy to die. Want to escape by death? At least it's not possible here at Su Chen. After all, Su Chen has no idea of protecting the earth. Ancient One magician, it's great that you are alive. Strange, Mordo and Wong quickly came forward to check the situation of Ancient One. What if it was really a fake corpse? Hey, Ancient One magician, you just sleep. Why are you sleeping with your eyes open, and not breathing, making people think you are dead? Is this a small wound fatal? If you tell me, Others will laugh at you. Asgard, that idiot, is not as strong as you. It's no big deal to arrest him. It doesn't matter to us at this point. Don't let people think that we don't have healing skills. After saying that, Su Chen still had a green fluorescent light in his hand. Kamar-Taj really has no healing skills. Ancient One Magician, you have to know that these noobs are dead. I will definitely perform karaoke and disco at your morning hall for a year. There are also the running seats and theater troupes mentioned earlier, which will definitely be arranged. Now that I have obtained the Asgard technology, we are not short of money. Quote. Hearing what Su Chen said, the Ancient One Magician's mouth twitched. Su Chen is becoming more and more of a jerk now and doesn't take care of his old master at all. The older they get, the more disobedient they become. The retirement plan I had prepared was completely disrupted by Su Chen. Does she still have to clock in at Kamar-Taj? Su Chen Magician, do you know that I should have gone to the Eternal God in my soul form to clock in and work? Because of you, I will have to live for at least several thousand years. The Ancient One Magician said resentfully that he had clearly deceived Dr. Strange. In the end, Su Chen was killed. Isn't New York's holy place nice? He had to come out and cause trouble. Now Ancient One finally knows what the psychology of that black braised egg is. Is it real or fake? So awesome and exciting. Su Chen took a breath. The amount of information was a bit large. Eternity, known as the 5 creation gods of Marvel. Strong strength. But, just treat it as if it's nothing. Is it true that the Z recruitment result was late? It's like 1800 years or something. For eternity, it's just a matter of the blink of an eye. Su Chen joked. Ancient One is late for work. What does it matter to me, Su Chen? It's the Ancient One's business. Besides, you are the leader of Kamar-Taj after all. If you leave, who will lead Kamar-Taj to become bigger and stronger and create greater glory? Su Chen said earnestly to Ancient One. Strange. Ancient One glanced at Strange with his peripheral vision. At the moment, he was standing aside with an embarrassed look on his face. You see, this guy is not very reliable, so Kamar-Taj, as a big family, cannot live without you. Even after losing, Su Chen patted Ancient One on the shoulder. Without you, the people of Kamar-Taj would have learned bad things very quickly. Such as smoking, drinking, and playing cards. The Ancient One glanced at Su Chen speechlessly and advised Kamar-Taj to be like this only in your holy place in New York. In Kamar-Taj Station, there is a place as smoky as your New York holy place. The one in the main hall is not cheerful, fresh and indifferent, with a look of curiosity on his face. Maybe you will be the only one who can corrupt the magician in Kamar-Taj after I die. It's okay to smoke and drink. I'm just worried that the people inside Kamar-Taj are too young and the yin and yang will meet outside. When the time comes when someone gets seriously ill, and the young magician knows the taste of forbidden fruit, he is deceived by the black uncle behind him. The consequences, simply. After saying that, Su Chen used the corner of his eye to glance at Modo, who was almost approaching Blacken. When Modu heard this, he couldn't bear it, and even the Blacken process was interrupted for a while. Now all he wants is to hold down Su Chen's big head and give her a beating. The Ancient One obviously noticed this. Destarency's experience will be reduced again. If you die, there will be so much land like Kamar-Taj and so many people to feed. Strange is a doctor and there is nothing he can do. Then the magician may have to go out to perform as a performer. Ancient One glanced at Su Chen, as if to say, where is your money? In the end, Ancient One was really made to lose his temper by Su Chen. Stop talking. I'll just keep working overtime. A nightmare that workers can never escape from. Hong Kong holy place. Caecilius and his men opened the portal and came to the main hall. The current hall is still the same as before, and there is no one there until now. Now that the Ancient One is dead, no one can stop us. Caecilius laughed wildly and immediately ordered his men to start condensing magic attacks to destroy the Hong Kong holy place. Soon Caecilius destroyed the Hong Kong holy place. Suddenly, a steady stream of black mist rolled in, and a pair of big hands protruded and tore the black garden in half. Along with a powerful aura of decay and erosion, the holy place was enveloped. The dark central area spanned the space, and a pair of eyes comparable to the file size of stars opened inside. Ancient One, Dormammu's absorption fell on Cassia. Feeling Dormammu in person, Cassia also felt Dormammu's seductive magic voice. Caecilius almost lost his mind. Lord Dormammu is coming. Sir, the Ancient One magician has been killed by me. From now on, there will be no one on earth who can stop your power. Caecilius danced and showed off, with a wild expression on his face. Now that the Ancient One is dead, take an all start. I can't wait to come to Earth. Dormammu has huge amounts of head in another world, constantly rendering magic returns in the form of waves. Dormammu energy surges, and the magic of the dimension penetrates. After being corroded by the mysterious Lili from the dark dimension, the surrounding buildings were constantly destroyed. First the holy place, then the neighborhood. With the emergence of a large amount of energy, the gravity of the entire Hong Kong and even the Earth's crust began to change. But at this moment, the Ancient One magician suddenly appeared, and Su Chen was resting on the Ancient One magician's shoulder, constantly feeding the Ancient One this magic power. A huge space barrier spread out, instantly covering this holy place. Among them, the black magic energy also leaked out a little. Ancient One, Dormammu, who was in the dark energy, glanced at Ancient One through the space, and his eyes almost didn't fall off. Ancient One, you're not dead. After saying that, Dormammu glanced at Caecilius, as if asking Caecilius again, why is Guri still dead? Didn't you say I was killed by you? Caecilius also had a fixed look in his eyes and was stunned, but he came back to his senses the next second. Don't panic, Lord Dormammu, since I can kill Ancient One once, then I can kill him twice. But Caecilius seemed to be saying this to himself. Dormammu smiled coldly. Caecilius, you are a joke. Ancient One, you didn't die, and you came in such a timely manner, I guess you didn't bring the Eye of Agamotto necklace. Dormammu was slightly surprised. The Eye of Agamotto necklace accounted for a large part of the reason why the Ancient One was able to block his attack on the Earth. Definitely the Ancient One's level of magic and magician literacy are also important. The reason why I have so much fun fighting the Ancient One magician. And every time he attacks the Earth, he has to sit with the Ancient One for 2 or 3 hours, chatting and making friends through magic. Even Dormammu himself doesn't know how long this friend has been together. A person who uses time gem to the extreme does not even bring time gem. That's true. Very good. But the next moment I couldn't laugh anymore. The reason is that behind the two of them, Strange has already walked out. She also wears the Eye of Agamotto necklace. The Ancient One magician waved his backhand and blocked all the dark energy attacks. Dormammu, your opponent this time is not me, there is someone else. After resisting, Ancient One spoke again. Dormammu was also slightly stunned, and his huge eyes glanced at Su Chen and Staranchi behind the Ancient One. Yes, the Ancient One's enemy is not Lord Dormammu, the Ancient One's opponent is me. Caecilius on the side spoke, and after speaking, he stayed with his men and rushed over thinking about the Ancient One. Dormammu. 1. Su Chen. Who gave you confidence? Su Chen and Dormammu looked at Caecilius like they were fools. However, Su Chen's eyes were richer, and he did not forget to say something to Dormammu. This dark magician can't do it either. Caecilius didn't care about this, although Dormammu came and strengthened Caecilius again. But the Ancient One holds his 5 fingers, a surge of magical energy, and manipulates the elements to release it. Caecilius didn't even know how the Ancient One used magic. Power Surge. Caecilius' card quickly pushed away various magic attacks from the Ancient One magician in his hand. But it's already very difficult to have him. It's close, it's almost 1 o'clock. Caecilius and his followers charged quickly and appeared in front of the Ancient One in an instant. The weakness of the Ancient One magician is close proximity, except death again. Su Chen. Dormammu. Strange is overthinking. This guy didn't successfully graduate from Kamar-Taj marriage. Su Chen said quietly to Strange. Seeing Caecilius approaching, the Ancient One magician didn't panic at all. Then a magic shield was released. With a backhand shot, a follower was instantly knocked down. Then the magic shield is extremely thin under the control of Ancient One. The next moment, Ancient One shifted his position and casually wiped away the dark magician's neck. The other magicians also rushed up, but they were all neatly dealt with by the Ancient One magician. Finally, Caecilius stepped forward, and Ancient One did not hold back. Instead, He put away his magic shield, and a magic ball instantly appeared in Ancient One's hand. With superb skills, a ball hit Caecilius. 5 consecutive whippings and call it a day. Caecilius, who delivered the next blow, was directly knocked away, and then a dazzling white light flashed. A mushroom cloud instantly rose from the ground. Boom! Circles of white shockwave had distinct layers, carrying an energy storm that expanded and spread out. The Hong Kong holy place was instantly destroyed, and the shockwave also subsided with the obstruction of the mirror space. "See Gui," Strange exclaimed. "So, Ancient One Magician, you were playing me before." Ancient One waved his hand, patted the non-existent return journey in his hand, and then said, "Dormammu, continue the topic just now, this time your opponent is not me but someone else." The Ancient One acted as if nothing that had happened before had happened, and Caecilius was completely ignored. "Ancient One, continue to release the sea. It does not exist. Workers pay attention to efficiency." If it weren't for Caecilius's corpse still lying there, Strange would have wondered whether what he saw before was an illusion. Or was it the time when the Ancient One magician lost to Caecilius and surrendered his first blood in tears? But even thinking about that is unrealistic. Sure enough, being a magician is too stressful and I keep having hallucinations recently. Should I see a psychiatrist? Forget it, maybe the psychiatrist will put you in a mental hospital. Then you won't be able to get out. Dormammu also has an expression that he knows is like this. But Ancient One's words reminded Dormammu again, and Dormammu looked at Su Chen and Saint District again. Su Chen is too young. Strange behind him caught his attention. A suit of luxurious equipment, coupled with the time gem around his neck, and his eyes full of vicissitudes of life. Strange. No, I didn't, I'm still young. Dormammu secretly gathered energy and prepared to launch a surprise attack. Who is that person? Dormammu. Su Chen pretended to be stupid. Ancient One smiled and pushed Su Chen on the back. That's him. How about it? Not bad, right, Dormammu? Quote. Strange. Are you kidding me? Diesel, Dormammu shouted in unison, obviously quite surprised by the Ancient One's answer. Su Chen, don't belittle yourself, believe in yourself, I think you can do it. After saying that, Ancient One pulled Staronchi and ran behind Su Chen. I don't want what you think, I want what I think. Su Chen's smile was a little stiff, and he slowly looked at Dormammu through the dark energy. Apparently Dormammu didn't know Su Chen yet. The dark-colored man was a little impatient and lacked interest in him. Su Chen came here just to watch the show and see how Strange uses the time gem to kill everyone. But I didn't expect that Su Chen, a scammer, would actually push himself to the front of the stage. How could he bear this? Well, actually I am just a little magician, can I be as knowledgeable as the Ancient One? Su Chen looked at Dormammu, but Dormammu was not very interested. The magic power spurred the flame to burn violently, with an unshakable look in his eyes. Dormammu misunderstood. The Ancient One quickly solved the problem of his men, and Su Chen was the magician brought by the Ancient One. Dormammu regarded Su Chen as his subordinate. This Ancient One made him famous. If Dormammu didn't easily solve Su Chen, he would definitely be laughed at by the Ancient One. There is even a magician behind the Ancient One to increase his confidence. Not to mention anything else, Dormammu's ability to imagine is really strong. Such a small thing actually created such a big drama in his mind. As a matter of fact, Dormammu didn't think Su Chen could survive his attack. Otherwise, Gu wouldn't have been fighting alone for so many years. Fight Dormammu alone, and the Ancient One magician seems to have handed over the time gem to the magician behind. Obviously they want to train him into the new Sorcerer Supreme. Maybe this is all for show for the magician. Dormammu's facial expression also began to move in the direction of anger, and with the surge of magic power, the flames began to burn violently. The magic flame covers a large area, and the magic power grinds the location of Su Chen directly as if it is free of charge. Gone. Upon seeing this, Su Chen teleported and slipped away. This magical flame has corrosive properties, so it's better not to get close to it in this situation. Whoosh! Su Chen appeared again and gestured with the middle finger to the Ancient One magician behind him. Friendly greetings from international friends. Su Chen, didn't I tease you? Is it necessary to do this? Or you, Ancient One, still an old maid? No one can even touch you. Wait a minute, is the Ancient One really real? Looking at the history of Marvel, it seems that there are no men around Ancient One, let alone a boyfriend or a husband. The only person who has been with Ancient One for a long time is the Black Uncle Modu. Could it be that he stayed because he was good at work? Or maybe Modu is secretly in love, so he has such a big objection to the Ancient One magician absorbing Dormammu's energy. She also felt the Ancient One's slander against Su-Chen from Su-Chen's eyes. You can clearly see the veins on Ancient One's head popping up, and the originally shiny head is a little brighter. The white turns to pink, then to red, then to green, and finally to black. This series of sexual changes was completed under the witness of Strange. Strange thought that Ancient One was trying to hold back some big tricks. That's it. Flame is a tentative attack for Dormammu, but in the eyes of many people, this attack is almost heaven-destroying. Cold black flames burned in the void, and Dormammu then extracted the magic power from the dark dimension to create unique elemental magic. In addition to flames, there were also torrents, storms, and lightning, all of which were pitch black without exception. An unexpected breath rushed to his face, and the evil magic wreaked havoc in the air. Strange on the side only felt that without the protection of the Ancient One magician, he would not be able to catch a single move Lida's. At the same time, he also felt the power of Ancient One magician and Su-Chen. They just keep fighting monsters like this. This reminded him of the battle with the Demon King in London. He was still a newbie at that time, and now. Strange looked at the gem on his chest. I'm still a newbie now. Who are you? After Su-Chen avoided countless dark energies, Dormammu finally put away his contemptuous gaze. For the Earth, the dark energy is reflected in her, and the Ancient One can compete with it, and the others. But Su-Chen's existence makes him a little uncertain. Asgardian, from which New York holy place are you? Through the wormhole, Dormammu's face of huge amounts appeared at the exit, staring at Su-Chen thoughtfully. Dormammu in the dark dimension also has several times the fighting power of Heavenly Father, and can even reach level single universe in the dark dimension. The strength is far superior to that of Thanos in a blank slate. Why is he so strong, and why can he still be hammered by the Ancient One? It's not that Ancient One has a unique skill that can make Dormammu calm down and reason. But Su-Chen doesn't have this unique skill. And if you are careful, you can find that Time Gem can affect space and trap Dormammu inside. But Dormammu, who has no other gems, is the only character in all of the Marvel movies who is not affected by the Time Gem. Think of anyone in Marvel who could do that. This also proves Dormammu's strength from the side. Ancient One, if you want me to hammer him, you must at least give me one piece of equipment so that I can negotiate with Dormammu. Su-Chen said to the mother of the Ancient One magician. Obviously Su-Chen had a little resentment, but he tolerated it because he was even more exaggerated. But there is a very interesting point in the details in the movie. That is, in the movie, both Dormammu and Strange's actors are the same person. So I want to myself. I negotiate with myself, I surrender to myself. A one-man show. What about, Dormammu, can we have a talk? Su-Chen took out his own killer weapon, Reality Gem. Talk about mud horses. Rumble. The torrent of dark elements flooded Su-Chen's location, and the silent explosion caused the Hong Kong Holy Place to explode again. Hong Kong Holy Place was beaten repeatedly. Dormammu stared at Su-Chen, who was only separated by a space, with a serious look on his face. He perceived an inexplicable rule that was competing with his dark energy. That power is very strong and seems to carry infinite possibilities, turned into concepts. What kind of power is this, and who are you? Ice Age. The eerie red color is like lighting a candle in the darkness, swallowing up the mysterious ability in the dark dimension. The ability grows rapidly. The red light shines on Dormammu's face, and his facial features are uncertain due to the red light. Then the blue light rose into the sky and turned into countless ice crystals and ice fields, sweeping all the way towards the surrounding area. Wherever it goes, the energy of the dark dimension is sealed, as if the entire world is frozen. The surging cold air almost froze Dormammu, who was an energy aggregate. Only now can Dormammu clearly see the power released by Su-Chen. Reality Gem. A pendant, also made of infinite gems, is currently hanging on Su-Chen's chest, emitting a strange red light at the moment. The simple ice element Li Lai took and strengthened in his hand. Dormammu was silent and looked at Su Chen's figure. Magician, you just said you were here to talk. This is the benefit of strength. Dormammu's attitude changed instantly, and there was no longer the initial contempt. Now he no longer thinks that Su Chen is the little follower around Ancient One. Although it is possible that he is a master and apprentice. But they should be considered equal in terms of strength. Want to talk to me now? Yes, really, that's bullshit. Labor and management have changed their minds now. Su Chen held a frozen spear with both hands and appeared around Su Chen. At the same time, the cold air exploded, and the powerful cold current made Dormammu feel that the magic power of his body was somewhat blocked. But this couldn't help Dormammu. The magic power was converted into flames, and the body temperature increased instantly. Even the huge amounts of face seemed to be burning violently because of the flames. There is a strong murderous intention hidden in the empty derivation. Hundreds of black chains made of magic power protruded from the void, crushing the incoming shadows. Magician, you are too presumptuous. Don't forget that this is the dark dimension, the domain dominated by me, Dormammu. CHDB is attacking your dark dimension. Su Chen's eyes narrowed, and with the use of reality gem, Su Chen's magic power was consumed a lot. A huge amount of spear appeared in Su Chen's hand, and even Dormammu was a little panicked at this time. I'm Dormammu. How could I be scared by a kid? Due to the reality gem, Su Chen's ice spear has extremely strong attack power. At this moment, Dormammu in the dark dimension has been targeted. Eject directly. I saw the energy of the dark dimension rapidly collapsing and cancelling out like dominoes. In the induction of its master Dormammu, it shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. He was keenly aware that his own power also shrank. Has my power been consumed? Dormammu was deeply saddened by the loss in just a moment, and he didn't know how long it would take to regain his strength by swallowing other dimensions. His hatred for Su Chen surpassed that of the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, and he vowed to extract his soul and burn it with the fire of darkness for thousands of years. Magician, your soul will pay for your actions. Dormammu didn't dare to hold back, and tried his best to extract the magic power from the dark dimension in order to destroy this spear. Otherwise, by the time he appears in front of you, it will be too late. Perhaps this will severely damage the vitality of the dark dimension, but at this point, there is no other way. It is better to cut off an arm than to be cut in the middle. In an instant, the boundless dark dimension suddenly shrank, directly manifesting itself as a surge of energy. The vast darkness compressed into a black sea, rushing towards the spear from all directions, vowing to extinguish the strange red ice spear. I don't believe you are indestructible. Dormammu controlled the dark dimension with all his strength, folded the space and stirred up the energy vortex, causing the huge energy torrent to hit the ice spear at a faster speed. Boom! Finally, under Dormammu's full attack, the ice spear turned into blue debris. As expected of a Mephisto with a dimension of energy, I can't beat you in terms of consumption. Su Chen couldn't help but sigh. This wave of Su Chen is equivalent to using his own recoverable blue bar to conduct a wave of exchanges with Dormammu. Dormammu definitely changed his permanent blue bar, and his mana value permanently decreased, but he recovered after devouring a few worlds. And Su Chen just slept and polished it off, and it was done. Before Su Chen could finish speaking, Su Chen ran up behind Strange. It's your turn, it's your turn. Su Chen ignored Ancient One's unnatural expression. Dormammu looked at Su Chen who slipped away, and then at Strange who was pushed forward by Su Chen. At the moment, Strange was still stupid and had a look of confusion on his face. I still don't know why Su Chen pushed himself up. Strange. Dormammu, what do you think I am? An experienced baby. Dormammu roared loudly, said. Dormammu feels insulted. Do you want to go up one by one? Magician Strange, don't belittle yourself, you have to believe in yourself, I think you can do it. Su Chen restored what the Ancient One said to him, which seemed to be encouragement, but also seemed to be a silent reprimand to express revenge on the Ancient One. Strange's body stiffened and he slowly turned his head to look at Dormammu, who looked extremely impatient and obviously disgusted with him. Then what? Su Chen Magician, what should I do? I don't have much experience the first time. Strange said to Su Chen with a livid face. Even the Ancient One Magician covered his face. You have an artifact in your hand but don't know how to operate it. You won't be able to use anything in the coming year, so you just push it out to fight. Dormammu is extremely stubborn. I thought he was a boss, but he ended up eating a chick. Sure enough, the appearance of people on Earth is extremely confusing. What? Dormammu, I'm here to negotiate. Negotiation. Dormammu can't believe that someone who doesn't know how to use time gem wants to negotiate with him. His huge amounts of eyes exuded endless coldness. The dark energy condensed and exploded, turning into a standing spear and instantly submerging Strange's position. Dead. So simple. You must know that when he faced the Ancient One who owned the time gem, he didn't love you so much. Facing the Ancient One, Dormammu felt like a boss being singled out in the instance, while the Ancient One was like a player. If he loses, he can use time gem to start over again, and Dormammu is like a boss that will eventually be cleared by the player. The boss can be very strong, but when faced with a player with unlimited lives, he can only shed blood on the spot with hatred. Even if you beat the player 100 times, it doesn't matter. This player can use the skills learned in countless lives to fight you head on. And it can also find your weaknesses. In this time loop, Ancient One is not the god of war, but more like the god of war. Whenever Dormammu is defeated by Ancient One, he always comforts himself. It's not that he is incompetent, but that this Ancient One is too shameless. Actually cheating and swiping wireless life. Before Dormammu could be happy for a long time, Strange's figure appeared next to Dormammu again. Strange guy, aren't you dead? How did he do it? As the only life in the dark dimension, Dormammu controls the space, matter, reality, illusion, etc. here, all under his control. In other words, where he is shrouded in dark energy, he is the omnipotent god of the dark dimension, the omnipotent god. But he clearly felt that Strange was dead, but now Strange still appeared in front of Dormammu. It seems like what just appeared was an illusion. It's like a dream. Killing Strange was surprisingly easy. What? Dormammu, I'm here to negotiate. So Dormammu was in a happy mood, and before Strange finished speaking, he squeezed him to death again. Strange. Dormammu then fell into a time loop. However, the mood of tax evasion just now soon became disgusting. It's still the same way to receive time gem. It's still a time loop, but the roles seem to have changed. Dormammu has become the brave man, and Strange has become the dragon. But this dragon is a bit weak. Just like the slime on the roadside, it is definitely not that special slime. Dormammu can be easily crushed to death. But this slime seems to have a wireless life. Crush it and a new one will appear. And he has no previous memories, and he looks like a complete novice. Dormammu is constantly trapped in a cycle of being crushed to death, and then resurrected in a cycle of crushing to death. And the phrase, "What? Dormammu, I'm here to negotiate." It is a poisonous curse that urges death. All in all, Dormammu was disgusted. Simply more disgusting than the Ancient One. Dormammu is like being trapped in an infinite loop of dungeons. You have to defeat Strange, but once you defeat Strange, you will start over here, even if you grab the time gem. A dungeon that can never be beaten in a month can't be tolerated by anyone. Coach, I report it. There is a bug here. I apply to inspect the opponent's machine. But before OAA could inspect the Strange machine, Su-Chen and Ancient One couldn't stand it anymore. If you use time gem, just use it. Why don't you drag us in? What? Dormammu, I'm here to negotiate. 0, Before Strange finished speaking, Su-Chen and Ji-Yu grabbed one of Strange's hands. Who the hell are you disgusting with? Su-Chen roared at Strange. Strange looked confused. What did I do? Why do I disgust you? Aren't you always disgusting me? Didn't you ask me to hit Dormammu? Ancient One Su-Chen didn't know it, but he was as disgusted as Dormammu. He had watched Strange's 10,000 Ways to Die. The energy of Su-Chen, who possesses the reality gem and the time gem cancel each other out, but like Dormammu, he is also trapped in the world's love you loop, and keeps this memory. The Ancient One has memory, which is probably because time gem is more practical and has some resistance. As a result, it has memory every time it cycles. Otherwise, how can it beat Dormammu? Even the Ancient One couldn't bear it anymore as he watched Strange being killed in an infinite loop. Ancient One, what day is it today? Why are you disgusting me from morning to night? Is this a punishment from the eternal God for my lateness? The Ancient One ignored the submissive Strange, took off the time gem, and put it on his chest. Dormammu, it's better for the two of us to continue fighting. I really want to thank you. I finally changed to a more normal one. Your disciples must have been cheated. Ancient One, 1000. With the time gem, Ancient One is now ready to show off its skills. Ancient One's use of the world loves you gem is much more sophisticated than Strange's. Strange pulled all the people enveloped in this space into the time loop. With his weak character, he was able to successfully disgust all the strong people. Sure enough, Strange came here based on negotiations, specifically to disgust others. It has to be said that such a powerful time gem was used by Strange in this way. It has to be said that it is a genius, and it does not distinguish between friend and foe. And Ancient One's mastery of time gem is down to a meticulous level. Control your time very well. Anyway, as soon as you are injured, you will immediately control yourself and restore yourself to your best condition. Ancient One, do you need healing skills if you have time gem? Just swipe it, and you will have full health and status. He is worthy of being the owner of time gem, because he has devoted half his life to time gem. The effect was quite impressive, and it successfully opened up Strange's mind. It turns out that time gem is so powerful in combat. I will no longer be afraid of meeting strong people. During Avengers Alliance 4, I could openly point out a finger to Tony and say, "Give me a time gem and I can still show off." The movie version of Ancient One is not a man who is good at talking. The fight between Dormammu and Ancient One in this mirror space is turned upside down. Ancient One will definitely not be able to defeat Dormammu with its hard power. Dormammu has the upper hand, but with time gem, the resurrection brush is soaring. There is even no mana left, so just go back and replenish it. Strange's jaw dropped at the show. 500 years of endless dark dimension energy suddenly shrunk by the Ancient One, and the direct manifestation was that the dark energy that invaded the Earth suddenly flowed into the dark dimension. Ancient One, I will come back. An angry roar came from the void. The cracks that I worked so hard to open are now being closed again. But Dormammu has gotten used to it. Just like a certain wolf, he has been beaten back countless times, but he has never given up the idea of eating sheep. However, the Ancient One never let go of Dormammu. The moment Dormammu evacuated, he swallowed a lot of dimensional energy areas in one gulp. Other Kamar-Taj magicians borrowed dimensional energy, but Ancient One does not. Ancient One is stealing it. Dormammu didn't care about this old madman anymore and left in despair. It's not the first time that it's the other way around. At worst, it'll just take a few worlds to make up for it. Cut, noob. Su Chen watched Dormammu being beaten home by the Ancient One and spat out a mouthful of foam with disdain. What dimension? Mephisto. The Ancient One didn't do anything yet, but he ran away from the other side. If I had the time gem plug-in, I would definitely block the door of Dormammu's house every day and absorb him to get blue. When Dormammu fails, kill him and take the position of Mephisto in the dimension. Then, just sit and wait for the hero to come looking for you. Hey, doesn't this make him a bully? No, he has to pretend to be a true, kind and beautiful dimensional being like Emperor Weixin. But seeing the evil look in the Ancient One magician's eyes, I thought that the Sorcerer Supreme would not be allowed to commit murder as he was already a long time ago. What to do if he pisses the earth to death? Later, the Ancient One handed over the time gem to Strange for safekeeping. You know how to use it now. Learn more in the future. By the way, Su Chen, you already have 3 infinite gems, so don't worry about him. Ancient One stared at Su Chen, fearing that Su Chen would die if he stole the time gem. Su Chen, do I look like this kind of person? Sorry, I really do. Okay, Strange, use the time range to go back and restore everything around you. Strange took the gem and used time retrieval again. I have to say that Strange's adaptability to time gem is still very high, and most people can't remember to use long spells. Even if you remember it, you don't have the ability to activate the time gem. Time gem also recognizes people. Without ability, time gem cannot be used at all. At this time there was no mirror space in Dormammu's obstruction, and soon the entire Hong Kong holy place returned to its original state. Even the magician who died in the battle at the beginning was resurrected. Even the damage done to several nearby blocks is being restored in Time Gem's green glow. From now on, Strange will continue to work as a doctor, and he will not even need surgery, but just return the patient to the state before the injury. The only danger is falling into a crack in time and not being able to get out. The whole set wars down. In the end, everyone discovered that Kamar-Taj had 0 casualties. How should I put it? It is indeed a gem that can control time. The next step is to clean up the mess. The Ancient One began to hide behind the scenes. After all, Strange had agreed to become the new Sorcerer Supreme, although it could not change the fact that he was a rookie. But with Time Gem Kamar-Taj, no one except Suchen and Ancient One could beat him. In the end, this was accepted by default. It is said that there are 3 things a new official should do when taking office, which can not only establish prestige but also strengthen cohesion. Although Strange didn't say anything about becoming the new Sorcerer Supreme, he was still secretly happy in his heart. At least on the surface, he is already the boss of hundreds of people like Kamar-Taj. But see the financial revenue. Strange, sorry, I don't want to be the Sorcerer Supreme anymore. Strange touched the 7 cents in his pocket. I feel like doctors still have a better future. But he was still pushed back by Ancient One. How can the spiritual leader of Kamar-Taj run away? If you don't have money, you can go to perform as an entertainer. So Ancient One waited for Strange to run to some amusement parks and started doing street magic. Suchen, if you see magicians on the street in the future, they are relatively unscientific. Please be suspicious. Yes, they just ran out of Kamar-Taj to make a living. Don't beat them to death. Become a disciple as soon as possible. Maybe they can walk on the street. The Magician's Royal Road. Then under the guidance of the Ancient One, Strange also learned how to fish on a daily basis in Kamar-Taj. It seems that you can let go of those enemies and leave them to the superheroes outside to deal with. After all, the Ancient One has lived for more than 500 years, and apart from magic, he only has experience. And he also learned how to return water daily and become a respected Sorcerer Supreme. After Strange understood the benefits of becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, Ancient One slowly gave Strange experience. After all, Sorcerer Supreme still can't be too good. Please like and subscribe. Chapter 131. Stark Industrial Building, in the United States, can definitely be regarded as the premier commercial building in the world. After all, this is the headquarters of Stark Industries, and at the top of the headquarters is Tony Stark's personal space. If you don't make it luxurious, it will undermine your apparent status as the richest man in the world. On this day, almost all the Avengers gathered here. Iron Man Tony Stark is definitely here as the Master, as is Captain America Stephen Rogers, as well as Hulk Dr. Bruce Banner, Hawkeye, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, Ghost Rider Johnny, and Assistant Miss Pepper. Everyone came except Thor, who was away on his honeymoon in Asgard and didn't come. There's even a new person joining the Avengers Alliance. The second-generation Ant-Man Mr. Lang. As for why the second-generation Ant-Man came back here, it's not because the first-generation Ant-Man knew he had made a mistake. He actually let go of an artificial intelligence. He definitely knows the dangers of artificial intelligence and wants to prevent the world from being destroyed and to keep the world safe. I had no choice but to send the second-generation Ant-Man to the battlefield. After all, Dr. Pym is 27 years old. How dare he let himself get into a fight? As for my daughter, sorry, I won't give you my little cotton-padded jacket to cause harm to you. Too dangerous. So Pym didn't take out the Wasp battle suit that he had treasured for many years and give it to his daughter. As a scientist, Bruce Banner came out and said, "Are we just going to get that Ultron? Are we just a bunch of people? How can we not run rampant on Earth?" Ant-Man jumped out like a fool. But everyone present looked at Ant-Man as if they were watching something. They can roam the Earth, but they are carried sideways by people. This new guy is not very sensible yet, I'm going to talk to him. Natasha Romanoff, who is the social butterfly of the Avengers Alliance, just dragged Ant-Man out. Have a deeper exchange with him about the history and culture of the Avengers Alliance. After all, their Avengers Alliance has either been beaten or is on the way to being beaten when encountering wars since its establishment. Only when facing some terrorist organizations on Earth can we have the strength to fight. 10 minutes later, the second-generation Ant-Man returned to the conference room dragging his weight. Okay, I admit that I was sloppy before. But as an artificial intelligence, running on the internet, without a body, we still can't deal with him. Tony smiled slightly. Dr. Pym and I have confirmed that the other party already has a mechanical body. As long as we limit him to the mechanical body and prevent him from entering the network, we can completely destroy him by eliminating all his robots. Second generation Ant-Man Lang, but we don't seem to have any means to limit his mechanical body. Then definitely, we definitely don't, but I know someone who does. Tony smiled slightly. And the other party seems to be interested in this person. Who Tony was talking about was definitely Su Chen. Su Chen also knew a little bit about Su Chen's ability, Void ability plus supercomputer assistance. Su Chen is equivalent to a big killer on the internet, and Su Chen can do it with only a mechanical body. Even according to the information coming from S.H.I.E.L.D., it seems that the surveillance around Su Chen has been hacked. The person holding the camera pointed at seems to be Su Chen's Icarus. It seems that Ultron is really interested in this artificial intelligence. Wait a minute, I'll make a call. I'll know if it's time to take action. At this time, Tony also took out his phone and called Su Chen and said, Su Chen, I have a big secret here, Mimi. Quote ? Tony, what are you talking about? I'm from a good family. Which month's cover story are you talking about? Su Chen answered the phone and immediately became energetic after hearing Tony's words. Men, which relationships are the strongest? We passed through windows together, carried guns together, passed through trenches together. Obviously Su Chen has never experienced it with Tony. We are misophobic and only like ourselves as a man. How many months do you want it? Tony didn't answer directly. Tony, do you have something to ask me for? Just tell me, I'll see what happens. Regarding Tony's urinary nature, Su Chen had already learned a lesson during this time, and Tony was very bickering, so there was no need to struggle with peeing. It is more refreshing for Su Chen to go straight to the point. Well, you guessed it right, the little mouse I came to here, I have found his traces. If you find the little mouse, you'll find it. If you go and kill it, it's over. Is there no way I can restrict him to the internet? I have to ask you, Master Magician. Tony said to the phone with a diligent look on his face. But these words gave the rest of the Avengers goosebumps. It's none of my business. If it's okay, I'll hang up. Su Chen said he was ready to hang up. Don't. This little mouse definitely doesn't need to bother you, but this little mouse is coveting your Icarus. I have reliable information here. This little mouse is actually following the network cable to spy on your Icarus. Loss. How can this be possible? Don't be afraid of 10,830, just be afraid of what might happen. What if he seizes an opportunity and has a baby mouse with Icarus? Su Chen, giving birth to a baby mouse. A hermaphrodite dares to covet my Icarus. Yes, can you bear this? I can't bear it, but let's do it. He can only watch. If he dares to appear in front of Icarus, Icarus will slap him to pieces. Su Chen was right that Icarus did have such strength. After Pandora's purification, the Uranus system and the system blessing of Skyblade 7, let alone Ultron, even if Odin appeared in front of him, Icarus would not be unable to fight. A leap from ordinary god level to god level pages. Tony was a little embarrassed for a moment. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Just get ready. When it's here, send me your location and pictures. I'll be there in a minute. Okay, I'll wait for you, dear. Tony hung up the phone with a solicitous look on his face. Tony looked at the people around him looking at him in shock. What are you looking at? I've never seen a handsome guy. I've seen it before, but I've never seen it so shameless. TCH, I am doing this for the cause of the earth. On the other side, in a scientific research base of huge amounts, the body of the artificial robot Ultron is placed on a mechanical bed, with countless cables connected to the body, and the body's data is being detected. Soon, Ultron's body data was detected. Looking at the displayed data, even Baron Strucker's face was very shocked. This body is indeed a product of mechanical and genetic engineering. It contains a large amount of rare what Elman gold, vibranium accounts for a large part. It even contains some Asgard destroyer rare metals. This greatly improves the robot's maneuverability. Moreover, the design of this robot is made according to the perfect golden proportion of human beings, which is a full 1.9 meters, which is 2 centimeters taller than the author. It also adds some biotechnology, and even adds Killian's extremis to the life technology. However, this body contains indescribable terrifying energy. The energy contained in the body is enough to bear the energy consumption of the entire United States for several days. Once such terrifying energy breaks out, it will be easy to level the entire country. Baron Strucker was shocked by the energy contained in the robot's body. Baron Strucker also felt very excited and excited. If the end of technology is magic, then the end of magic is the creation of gods. Apparently that's what they're doing now. There are countless such machine tools in operation next to this mechanical bed, and countless robotic arms are working non-stop on it. The scene is very grand. The quiet Sokovia area. At the moment, it was suddenly interrupted by a loud noise from an artillery shell, and a Kunkel aircraft was suddenly hit and fell from the sky at high speed with thick black smoke. But when the plane fell rapidly and was only a few meters away from the ground, it suddenly stopped and turned into a flaming plane. The cabin door opened again, and everyone walked out of the plane. Quote, if I had known, I would have flown directly. This beautiful lady agent, your driving skills have deteriorated. Quote. Tony coughed dryly. If Johnny hadn't finally taken control of the Kunkel aircraft, at least 1 or 2 members of the Avengers Alliance would have been lost. After all, Captain Hawkeye, Widow's sister, and Ant-Man are all ordinary people. As for Tony, he put on a steel battle suit early in the morning. It's none of my business. I've obviously turned on Quinjet's stealth equipment, but they still found us. This only shows that our stealth equipment is too backward. Yes, the opponent is artificial intelligence. It is normal for him to be better than us in the mechanical field. Ant-Man said immediately. Although the effect is not very strong now, the 3 big mouths have begun to show their ferocious power. At the same time, his eyes drifted towards Tony. Are you kidding? You're saying that the stealth technology I provided for S.H.I.E.L.D. is outdated? When he heard this, Tony became anxious. I am an expert in mechanics. And I am not specialized in radar, right? What we are facing is just a group of street rats. They are hiding in this corner. Without materials, I don't believe they can come up with any black technology. As Tony finished speaking, a group of Hydra warriors wearing auxiliary flight devices, holding energy weapons, flew quickly from all directions and surrounded the aircraft. Well, if I didn't say it, their equipment is indeed updated relatively quickly. It's definitely possible that S.H.I.E.L.D. updated it for them. Tony looked at everyone in Hydra and was immediately speechless. At first, I thought I would enter a mechanical nest, but I didn't expect it to be a snake nest. Tony, the widowed sister, was definitely not happy. Although he knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. was a snake's nest before, it has changed for the better now. You guys hold on, I'll make a call and send you a picture. After saying that, Tony used his palm cannon to kill a Hydra soldier, as if turning on a fuse, and then he went aside and turned on the communication equipment inside the steel armor. This Tony, the palm cannon is like a signal, and countless energy beams from the Hydra warriors focus their fire at this time. But no one present was vegetarian. Banner instantly becomes bigger and Ant-Man becomes smaller instantly. Hawkeye found a position and continued to edge Ob. The widowed sister hid behind Banner and raised her shield in front of him during the battle. The small shield blocks a large number of attacks. Why doesn't Hydra know how to kick with such a small shield? Johnny, the Ghost Rider, controls the machine gun on the Kunkel aircraft. Chug tug tug tug. Soon the whole Hydra team was wiped out, leaving no one with a chance to show off. Soon Tony finished making phone calls and sending pictures. Seeing the mess on the battlefield, he casually picked up the No Emperor spear of the 9-headed warrior. Their equipment is still good, and this is the energy gun from the New York War. It seems that S.H.I.E.L.D. still has remnants of the opponent. Tony squeezed out the energy grab and said to the widowed sister, I will report it to the director. The widowed sister also knew the seriousness of this matter. But looking at the team's equipment, it seems that Hydra has plenty of funds. Tony inspected the bodies of the Hydra warriors. Although they had energy grabs and relatively high-tech flight equipment, the ordinary equipment worn by these warriors was also the best on the market. Even better than those of the military's special forces. Meanwhile, Sokovia Base. Who is the enemy? Lord Straker walked into the control room and said to the person in charge. Report, sir, the Avengers are here and we have been discovered. An officer stood up and spoke to him respectfully. Avengers Alliance people. Those who are fighting are Avengers Alliance people. Well done. Since we are members of the Avengers Alliance, we have to play with them. Today is different from the past. We are the ones with a secret weapon. Baron Strucker said happily, and at the same time, two figures appeared behind him. It could be clearly seen that they were a man and a woman. The woman is wearing a red leather coat. According to the ancients, more than 10 people are a sign of great disaster. There is a murder weapon. The man is average looking, but he works very quickly with his special abilities. He is the perfect choice as a housekeeper for home travel. When the two are combined together, it is a cheat good family huo partner how combination. Driving the steel armor, Tony took the lead and flew to the bunker built on the top of the mountain. I don't know how Hydra was able to do it. Could it be that he learned from a certain rabbit and not only hollowed out the mountain, but also dug hundreds of meters of tunnels underground? Facing countless turrets, Tony's armor was fearless. After all, ordinary attacks could not break the defense. After all, the surface of Tony's armor is mixed with a little bit of vibranium. As for where vibranium comes from, would Tony, the world's richest man, tell him that he often repairs Captain's shield? And often the Captain's shield is upgraded. Definitely Tony also relied on his high level of alchemy to cause the Captain's shield to remain unchanged in weight and shape. And it also adds equipment that can automatically come into your hands, making Captain America addicted to it. It may have been Tony's over-research, but the quality of the shield was seriously inadequate in the end. In the end, he was smashed to death purely why. Guys, I'll leave this to you first, I'll bang. Tony, who had passed through all the blockades at one go, hit an energy shield just in the middle of his words. MD, black technology, sticking to the shield, Iron Man cursed with an unhappy look on his face. Don't say bad words. Captain America heard this and reminded him in the communication. Okay, thank you for your teaching, Captain America. After retorting, Tony began to circle around the fortress. JARVIS, analyze it and let me see what black technology it is. Kivis, it is a certain energy barrier used by the central building. It is stronger than other Hydra barriers. Okay, look at my armor-piercing bullet. Then a shot hit the shield. Under this shot, the shield flickered suddenly, then shattered and disappeared. Okay, the trouble is solved, I'll go inside first to see what's going on. When Tony rushed into the control center of the fortress, everyone started shooting at Tony wildly. Then, there was no more. How can ordinary people be Nini's opponents? Tony walked inside and finally saw someone with a higher status. Okay, raise your hands and tell me, where is the artificial intelligence named Ultron? Tony ran with the palm in his hand pointed at this man. The man looked back, CHCF, and a woman in red appeared in front of Tony. Oh, so white. Tony shook his head. Wanda, take action. Baron Strucker said to the goddess behind. A burst of red energy immediately condensed in Wanda's hand, and Tony instantly fired his palm cannon. But Wanda's energy was faster, and a strange energy hit Tony's chest instantly. Tony only felt a strong force appear on his chest, and then he was directly knocked out with the steel armor and landed in front of the captain. Tony, remember not to use bad words. Although Captain America said this, he still hurried forward to check on Tony. Fortunately, the steel armor is covered with a layer of vibranium, otherwise it would be cold this time. Tony said, clutching his chest with lingering fear. What, vibranium? Captain dropped Tony and glanced at Iron Man. Captain, I will never give the shield to Tony for research in the future. Close black lens bracket. Captain, you heard wrong. Tony said awkwardly. A female mutant was found inside. Suspected to be a level 5 mutant. Two quickly told everyone the information analyzed by JARVIS. Tony may not be a mutant, we encountered another mutant outside. On the other side, Hawkeye covered his waist and said into the intercom. And it's extremely fast. At the same time, Hawkeye couldn't help cursing in his mouth, who the hell is wrong to hit? You have to hit me on the waist. Didn't you see that I'm on the verge of obscenity? If Quicksilver knew Hawkeye's thoughts, he would definitely say, "Who should we fight if we don't play ADC in a team fight? Should I play in the front row?" On Tony's side, a brown-haired woman in red clothes appeared in front of the captain and Tony. The captain winked, and the captain's shield quickly took action. With Tony's palm running, it actually ejected behind Wanda. The shield that was rapidly ejected in the air mutated, and a crimson energy barrier appeared in front of Wanda. The shield is like hitting an invisible barrier. In the end, the shield returned to the captain's hand. The bullets fired by Tony were all blocked by the crimson barrier. Even if the bullets rushed near the barrier, they would only be bounced away by the unrivaled strange energy. What's going on? The captain quickly backed away. This is the mutant. Tony also controlled the steel armor to retreat. As for why it can be detected that it is a mutant and not a super ability person, the reason is very simple. As early as decades ago, someone developed a micro-detection device that can detect the X gene. Because of its high cost, it has not been popularized on a large scale. But Tony is not in this category now, so the steel armor immediately detected the X gene hidden by the opponent. Unexpectedly, Baron Strucker, the leader of Hydra, actually recruited mutants. I didn't expect them to be so incompetent. No, my own Avengers alliance will have to fight back. There seem to be some good talents in X College. If you want some money, please come over. The fair-skinned and beautiful Wanda slowly rose up, her red leather coat covering her sexy and attractive body. A pair of slender legs stood in the air, and her charming eyes exuded awe-inspiring gaze. The red energy gathered on the white fingers. It is this young beauty, controlled by psychokinesis, and the crimson magic barrier, who is the Avengers' first scourge. One way here, Wanda shouted. Crimson's origin magic power has not yet reached the final version, but even this initial power is enough to show how powerful he is. If Wanda continues to grow, it is not impossible to reach the level of alter reality. And the results of the change are permanent. As long as she wants, she can do it, and she not only affects her own universe but also affects other parallel universes. Although the Round's hard strength is not as strong as the Phoenix Force. But I may not be able to beat you, but you want to kill me. Just dream. On the other side, Hawkeye met his lifelong enemy, Quicksilver. Open black lens bracket Pietro. Peter, Maximov close black lens bracket open black lens bracket. This name is too long, just use Quicksilver, close black lens bracket. His good partner Natasha Romanoff was also involved, and the two of them were trying to find a sense of security back to back. Facing ordinary people like Superman, they are really powerless. I will find an opportunity to get rid of this mutant, you find an opportunity to leave. But you don't look like you're fine. After speaking, Natasha Romanoff glanced at Hawkeye's beaten waist. Oh, it's okay. I've already planted several seeds. It doesn't matter if I have them now. Hawkeye said teasingly, but the moment he finished speaking, a blue figure as fast as the wind suddenly passed by Hawkeye's side. He sent his whole body spinning in the air for a week before falling to the ground in embarrassment. Hawkeye ate a mouthful of dirt. Since this is no longer needed, can I help you and give you the remaining one? A blue figure that was too fast to be seen stopped not far from Hawkeye, spread his hands and mocked Hawkeye on the ground. It's a plant. Even though Hawkeye's waist was in severe pain on both sides, he still did not drop the bow and arrow in his hand. Fighting long hands against short hands is his last dignity. Hawkeye is injured, Hulk comes to support. The widowed sister quickly took out the first aid equipment and gave Hawkeye pain relief. Ho! A green-skinned figure of huge amounts jumped up and landed near Natasha Romanoff, and a powerful shockwave covered the surrounding area, knocking everything around to the ground. But there is no Quicksilver in the dimension. Looking up at Quicksilver, he had already run to the cliff with oil on his soles and looked at everyone with a mocking smile. Quicksilver is not as strong as Hulk, but Hulk is definitely not as fast as himself. The power is good, but can you hit me? Han. Quicksilver stayed away from Hulk's impact and challenged him from a safe distance. Ho! Hulk's speed is actually not slow, but that is for ordinary people. But for Quicksilver's speed, it is really insignificant and useless at all. In Quicksilver's eyes, Hulk is as clumsy as slow motion. Every time he raised his hand to attack, Quicksilver had enough time to eat a pack of instant noodles and then run away. In Baron Strucker's database, Hulk's battle data intercepted by Ultron has been stored for more than 10 pages, as well as a large number of battle videos and ability analysis. Even the rest of the Avengers Alliance also receive this treatment. When analyzing a person's personality, her aunt can even find out what day it is. So Quicksilver basically knows Hulk's moves clearly, but Hulk doesn't have the brains to know Quicksilver's ability. In this case, Quicksilver can basically use Hulk as a living target. Unless he can come up with some unexpected trump card, it will be impossible to defeat him with the tricks Quicksilver knows in advance. The huge difference in speed between the two determines that Quicksilver has the absolute initiative in a head-on confrontation with Hulk. Hulk could only release his power violently, violent shockwave constantly attacking in a wide range, trying to touch Quicksilver's body. But this idea is a little too naive. As early as the moment Hulk attacked, Quicksilver found a safe place in advance. By the way, I played the abnormal version of Rhythm Master. At the moment, Hulk really had terrible destructive power, but he couldn't find a way to keep up with Quicksilver's speed. This feeling of hitting a mosquito with a fist makes Hulk really uncomfortable. Hawkeye, what can you do? Set a trap, but my waist hurts and I can't move. While Hawkeye was communicating with Natasha Romanoff, Quicksilver launched another attack on Hulk. His body turned into a stream of light like wind, hitting Hulk at a high speed that could not be caught by the naked eye. Hulk is simply unable to organize an effective counterattack. Quicksilver's almost fleeting afterimage rushed around Hulk. With left and right uppercuts, Hulk almost fell from the sky. Quicksilver's final left hook knocked his face aside, followed by an uppercut that raised his chin high. Before the pain could reach his brain, a heavy blow from both hands slammed his head into the ground. This combination of punches didn't even take half a second. The blue storm gradually subsided, leaving only Hulk's battered body on the ground and Quicksilver's triumphant look with his hands raised high. So weak, Quicksilver panted slightly and said, "After all, Hulk doesn't have many advantages, but meat is definitely one of his few advantages." Ouch. Boom. A huge roar jumped out of the pit. A giant beast 10 meters tall stood up again. The huge amounts of body put inexplicable pressure on Quicksilver, and Hulk seriously lost his only sanity. This state has only occurred when Su Chen beat Hulk children. Hulk chop. A powerful shockwave rushed towards Quicksilver at an extremely fast speed in the direction of Quicksilver. A large area of woods was uprooted and rushed towards the castle. Quicksilver easily dodges. The castle is also protected by Scarlet Witch Wanda's magical barrier, but Shockwave obviously doesn't meet the requirements to break through Wanda's defense. Quicksilver, stop playing around and send this big guy away. If Wanda hadn't resisted this shockwave, the castle would have been destroyed. It is estimated that the family will be gone by then, so what will happen? I know, sister. Quicksilver smiled contemptuously and took out a small metal ball from his streamlined clothes pocket. Put it in the palm of your hand. I don't know what the specific material is, but it also has a baby fist file size. The surface is smoothed by the big sister's quarters, which is enough to show the purpose of this small metal ball. So, speed is power. Hulk, have you ever been hit by a light? Roar. The irrational Hulk obviously doesn't know this. If it were Dr. Banner, he would probably know what will happen next. Hulk, hurry up. Natasha Romanoff shouted at Hulk, but it was of no use. Hulk has lost his mind, even Natasha Romanoff is ignoring him. Hulk's whole body was full of muscles, which was very scary. Hulk looked up to the sky and roared, turned around and looked at Quicksilver, his eyes had turned red. The anger all over his body turned into nearly unlimited power. Witness a blow at the speed of light. Quicksilver moved quickly. Quicksilver didn't sneak around to attack, nor did he create a whirlwind of afterimages. Instead, he really ran right next to Hulk, as if he hadn't seen him at all. When Hulk was still confused, Quicksilver's blue light traveled a long distance per pound, and visually it disappeared at the end of the horizon. Did he grease the soles of his feet after angering Hulk? His sister is still here, how could this guy escape from the battlefield? Faced with the doubts of the Avengers Alliance, only Wanda present knew that the fight was over. Quicksilver's 597 move that seems to be gone forever is not to escape, it is his way of attacking. Quicksilver's speed is so fast that he can carry out flexible mobile attacks at the speed of sound that exceeds the speed of the World Cup. Even the moment a school exploded and all the children were moved away, this did not mean that this was the limit of his power. Once he passes it, he won't be able to move so freely. In short, he will be tripped easily. The higher he increases his speed, the simpler the route he can take will become, and the simplest method is definitely to just go in a straight line. At the same time, another condition is that Quicksilver also needs a long enough straight line distance to allow him to continue accelerating. For him who can step on almost any surface to move, terrain is not a problem. The only problem is that at his maximum speed, this distance would take a very, very long distance to reach. All in all, he needs a runway. As soon as Quicksilver disappeared, Tony's satellite detector sensed an object making ultra-high-speed movement on the ground surface. Are you kidding me? When Tony heard the JARVIS report, despite the captain's disgust, he couldn't help but curse inwardly. How did Hydra find such powerful mutant siblings? Tell me, and I'll find 2 of them too. Quicksilver passed Hulk and ran for thousands of kilometers. Then he stopped, took a few breaths, and started running back. This time he was faster. His steps crossed mountains, passed through tall buildings, streets, deep forests, and deserts. Finally, he returned to the battlefield from the direction facing Hulk. Open black lens bracket. Hulk has turned around. Close black lens bracket. All this happens in a matter of seconds. But the speed at the moment has reached almost the speed of light, sublight speed. Hitting Hulk at such a speed, unless Quicksilver didn't want to live, he didn't want his body to be smashed into mincemeat along with Hulk. So Quicksilver's attack method is obvious, that is, to put down the iron ball in his hand. Without the protection of supernatural powers, under the influence of inertia. Newton, please weld my coffin plates. Don't let me out. This metal still maintains the same speed of light as Quicksilver for a short period of time. The friction with the air produced a large number of sparks, which burned itself red and rushed towards Hulk's body like a meteorite falling to the ground. Fortunately, the metal ball is made of a special material, otherwise it would have been vaporized at such a speed. Hulk realized that he had been hit by huge amounts of impact, and his body could not catch up with his consciousness. As soon as his eyes were blurred, Hulk was directly hit by the impact of the metal ball and flew straight into outer space along the plane of the Earth. Without speed, Hulk had no room for resistance, and the speed in air caused fierce friction. Hulk is constantly struggling in space, but the inertia is too strong, and he doesn't know where he will float along with the inertia. Fortunately, Giant Lou's physique was at the max level, so he was not dead after this blow, but flying into space was almost as good as death. Quicksilver slowed down and returned to his sister, stepping on the shoes that were a little worn and on fire. Hulk, Hulk, roar twice while alive. Natasha Romanoff called Hulk into the intercom. But how could there be a response in the universe? Natasha Romanoff, don't call me. Haoshu just flew in front of the satellite controlled by Weiss. He is no longer on the Earth. Natasha Romanoff, open black lens bracket. I will never have to face such a big guy again, so happy, close black lens bracket. Don't be sad, he is Hulk. I believe he can survive even in the universe. The captain quickly comforted him through the intercom. I asked, don't you two take a sibling seriously? Wanda watched the Avengers alliance reduce the number of its generals first, and felt a little happy, said to the two of them. Looking at the 2 people in front of her, Wanda couldn't help but snorted. You must know that his father was killed by a weapon manufactured by Stark Industries. Do you think Wanda will be nice to Tony? If Stark doesn't have a history of tearing his hands, he's already well rested. However, at this time, a space teleporter suddenly opened, and a young man wearing a yellow robe walked out of it. So white, Su Chen came out of the space door and saw the snow-white Ji-Fu at a glance. Then he stepped out of the portal. Su Chen took a look at the battlefield and found that Hulk was not missing. But it doesn't matter, Hulk is just as crazy as he is without him. Excuse me, is your name Wanda? Su Chen had some guesses in his mind. Not surprisingly, he was Miss Scarlet Witch. A perfect match of Chaos Origin magic power. And it is still in the state of raw stone. As long as you practice magic, your strength will definitely increase. What future is there at Hydra? There are more prospects at Kamar-Taj. Wanda is a little confused. As expected, they have been hidden by Hydra since childhood. Logically speaking, he should not know his name. Moreover, the 2 siblings are called by their code names, and there is no mention of their names being revealed. How does he know his own name? Regardless of these, Wanda was impressed by the opponent's strength alone. If nothing else, the information on Su Chen alone is as thick as a Xinhua dictionary. This is all stating a fact, that is, the Earth is invincible. Seeing Wanda's expression, Su Chen seemed to have guessed it right. Miss, I'm surprised to see your bones. My family is in need of warmth. No, it's a good material for learning magic. Do you want me to be your teacher? Asshole, who wants to become your disciple with someone like you who hangs out with murderers? However, a Wanda suddenly appeared behind Su Chen and hit Su Chen's face with a strange red energy. Are you afraid? Face your fear. A smile of triumphant conspiracy appeared on Wanda's face. It was definitely his brother who sent him here. With their super fast speed, even Su Chen would be unable to dodge. This was the tactic Jutu gave them. In the mind of the leader of Hydra, maybe, it should be. The mental power of the magician warrior will be very weak. What? Why are you holding my head? Only Icarus can touch my head. Su Chen turned her head and looked at Wanda behind her. Or do you agree to be my disciple? Why are you okay? Wanda was confused in an instant. This is the trick she is most proud of. Why is he okay? Why would something happen to me? Su Chen looked at Wanda with confusion. Yes, why would something happen to him? Who gave him the confidence to control Su Chen? Wanda couldn't help laughing when she thought of this. Quote. Before Wanda could finish speaking, a piece of ice appeared in front of Quicksilver almost instantly. Quicksilver fled quickly, feeling a sharp pain, and 2 ice spikes appeared on the back of Quicksilver's hands, and for a moment he did not catch Wanda's body. Very scary. A trace of blood spread in the air, and the hand was blue and purple. It was obvious that it had just been frostbitten. No one but Quicksilver could see clearly what happened. When Wanda was about to speak, Quicksilver was preparing to attack Su Chen. He also wanted to see if the strongest person on Earth was as fast as him. Obviously he disobeyed his sister's wishes. What his sister didn't finish saying was, "Brother, go quickly." Even with the blessing of super ability, he didn't react to Su Chen's attack. Ice making, ice control, overspeed ice making. Countless thoughts came to Quicksilver's mind. Is it a coincidence? Did you appear at the ice making location? Even Quicksilver himself doesn't believe this reason. If the other party were people like Tony, he might still think so, but the other party is Su Chen. He couldn't chalk these up to coincidence. Quicksilver shook his hand, trying to activate the blood in his hand and warm it up. Moreover, my ability to recover quickly also seems a bit slow under this ice pick. Where do you want to take my disciples? Quicksilver looked solemn and looked at his sister Wanda out of the corner of his eye. Su Chen said with Quicksilver, I will never agree to who is your disciple. Wanda turned her head, not wanting to see Su Chen. She had seen people buying and selling by force, but she had never seen anyone forcefully accept disciples. At the same time, he also controls himself to fly to Quicksilver's position. Su Chen didn't stop him. But this is what makes Su Chen look a little dangerous in Quicksilver's eyes. The ice-making speed can actually keep up with his own speed. This makes Quicksilver afraid to approach. As for Su Chen's surroundings, he can still deal with it. After all, doesn't Quicksilver think that Su Chen can make ice as fast as him a few kilometers away? Unless Su Chen has the ability to instantly freeze a planet. Forehead. Not to mention that Su Chen really has such ability. Demonic Essence plus Casket of Ancient Winters, plus Reality Gem can indeed freeze a planet instantly. But Su Chen can, but it's not necessary. Brother, stop fighting. Let's go. We can't get revenge today. Let's do it next time. Wanda used origin magic power to help Quicksilver dispel the cold. No, sister, it's not yet that time. My special move hasn't been used on him yet. If we beat him, we'll kill Tony. Quicksilver chuckled at this. He wanted to create a scene. As a young man, he is always a bit young and energetic. The most important thing is that it seems that if you don't deal with Su Chen, you won't be able to kill Tony. Tony, what does this have to do with me? Why do you want to kill me? Could it be that I bombarded too much before and accidentally left 2 seeds? In the end, you failed to fulfill your duty of care, and then they came to your door. Ignoring Tony's drama on the side, Tony had no choice but to be a quiet spectator and wait for the truth to come out. Quicksilver once again took out a metal ball from his arms, which was the prop he used to defeat Hulk just now. This also means that he has to be serious. What Su Chen has to deal with next is Quicksilver's strongest attack. Let him run, Captain America shouted at Su Chen. Obviously Captain America knew what the other party seemed to be using. That's an attack that can send Hulk flying out of the earth with one blow. The power of a sublight speed blow is definitely not something that an ordinary person can withstand. As for dodging, the opponent must have at least half the speed of sublight, otherwise Quicksilver can aim freely before throwing it. Even if Spider-Man, who possesses spider telepathy, comes to attack with this kind of attack, he still has to be successful even when he is clearly aware of the danger. This will be a fatal blow. So for people who don't have speed or space skills, this is a locking technique. Let's meet and learn about the power of the speed of light. Quicksilver sets off again. This time he will lengthen the runway again. Use the earth directly as a runway to slightly increase the power of this attack. Facing a strong player like Su Chen, even being 1 point stronger will make him more confident. After Quicksilver passed by Su Chen for the first time, he kept accelerating all the way, desperately increasing his running speed to the limit he could reach. His steps crossed mountains, crossed tall buildings, stepped on the water and crossed major oceans. 1 second he was causing a violent sandstorm in the desert, and the next second he was speeding on the polar ice. Eastern Europe traveled south across the Mediterranean Sea to Africa, ran across the barren Sahara Desert, and sped across the ice of the Antarctic continent. I saw today's waning moon on the other side of the Earth, then ran through layers of ice floes in the Arctic Ocean, and finally returned to the original position facing Su Chen from the front. All this happens in just 2 or 3 seconds. Innocent. Su Chen smiled slightly when he saw Quicksilver disappear. There is nothing wrong with speed being power, but it also depends on who it is. Pseudo. Mokobotomo, Ice Domain. Pseudo. Mokobotomo, Ice Domain. Su Chen smiled contemptuously. Why Su Chen didn't panic at all about Quicksilver's speed. As far as Su Chen is concerned, Su Chen can't compare to Quicksilver in terms of single wheel speed, but Su Chen's ability is not just about speed. Just like the special ability of Devil's Essence, the ability evolved from Devil's Essence after Su Chen absorbed the cold air of Casket of Ancient Winters. It's like an infinitely weakened version of Mokobotomo. Mokobotomo has the ability to freeze time and space, and the ice domain is a weakened version of him. He can rely on cold air to freeze the surroundings. It is not as exaggerated as freezing time and space, but it also has the effect of slowing down time. Equivalent to a field where time slows down. This skill will definitely be less effective against people with higher ice resistance. But as for Quicksilver, Unilateral Warrior, magic resistance is 0. Quicksilver quickly returned to his original position, but soon realized something was wrong. He felt that his body was constantly being eroded by the cold air. However, he couldn't control the steering at such a speed, so he gritted his teeth and plunged into the ice field. Cold, so cold. It was freezing cold everywhere within a radius of 1 kilometer. However, after seeing Su Chen, he also locked onto Su Chen. However, as you approached, the cold air around Su Chen became more and more pressing. He couldn't help but let his thinking speed slow down a bit. Secretly I kept sighing that this tight's not only insulated from heat, but also from cold. Now I can barely feel anything except the bare skin. The only thing that felt strange was that he seemed to see his sister's eyes looking at him. It doesn't make sense. I'm so fast, my sister shouldn't be able to see me. But Quicksilver couldn't care less about this, and threw the small breaking ball at Su Chen. The high-speed metal ball flew straight and quickly towards Su Chen after it was released. But this time there were no violent sparks like last time. Quicksilver thought that maybe the temperature here was too low and it went out. But the moment the metal ball touched Su Chen, stable. But, after the metal ball hit Su Chen, it was not directly knocked away like Hulk. Instead, it bounced back on Su Chen's chest. Quicksilver stared at all this. This is when Quicksilver realized something was wrong. His speed seems to have slowed down. Under the sublight speed, he can still control the direction at this time. No wonder my sister can see me. Unknowingly, I seem to be on a dead end. It seemed that Quicksilver couldn't say anything except these curse words. Before Quicksilver could react, Su Chen appeared in front of Quicksilver instantly and punched his soft abdomen. For the first time, Quicksilver felt that others could surpass him at the speed he was best at. Su Chen didn't kill him. After all, he was his disciple's younger brother. It wouldn't be easy to meet him after killing him. Keep a line when doing things, Day, so that we can meet again later. Su Chen takes back the ice domain, and everything frozen around her gradually returns to normal. Quicksilver, are you okay? Wanda quickly ran forward to check on her brother's condition. Wanda still looks a bit young. If you are so worried, leave your back to yourself. What if you are the enemy? Soon Wanda came to her senses. It seemed that Su Chen had injured her brother like this. I saw Wanda raising her hands high and the Crimson Origin magic power inspired countless psychokinesis to lift the surrounding stones. You are indeed gifted with extraordinary abilities. This is indeed the Origin magic power. There is no confirmation from Quicksilver, but looking at the fully activated Origin magic power, it can completely prove Wanda's identity. The Ancient One has a strange earth that plays with time. But Su Chen is not bad after accepting Wanda. She can play with reality. Believe it or not, she is conceptually straightforward and you wiped it out. Looking at this somewhat powerful Wanda, Su Chen couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, mutants can only survive if they mate. Do you think this is a bug in breeding? And it was the seed that Magneto sown when he was having a good time outside. Unlike Professor, for example, Miss Polaris. Looks, abilities are very strong. Magneto is simply a myth in the sewing world, a humanoid self-propelled pile driver. And he's the kind who doesn't take responsibility after sowing the seeds. How many of Magneto's children are living outside without the care of a father? If Wanda had been allowed to experience a father's love earlier, maybe Magneto would have been able to complete his ambition to dominate the Earth with his daughter. Why are you still working hard outside now that you are old and trying to create Asia again? Do you know who your father is? Su Chen looked at this powerful Origin magic power without panic at all. It is a compulsory course for a teacher to understand the family situation of his disciples. If you are confused, please close the door and open the computer, there is everything inside. My father died long ago. Wanda was slightly stunned. The Origin magic power in her hand was a little unstable. This magician was so evil, it actually brought back tragic memories in me. Quote ? Dad, Su Chen looked confused. Magneto died, when did it happen? Could it be that when Magneto died, the professor didn't control the whole world to mourn Magneto? Strange, the person who killed my father was made by your friend from Stark Industries. Tony, don't do it, I've shut down Stark Industries for many years. Why don't you just let me eat in peace? Tony, you're awesome. You actually managed to knock out the leader of Mutant. I admire you so much. Have you ever felt someone knocking on the door in your mind while you were sleeping? Su Chen, please hurry up and grab Tony for questioning. My apprentice's business is my business. If the apprentice comes to Tony, help him if it's his own fault. Isn't Tony just for selling now? I must state in advance that I really don't know anything. I am unjustly accused. Tony, who was lying on the gun for no reason, was the one who really completely deceived Yang. Where I was, what I was doing, who harmed me, and who I killed. What are these two guys talking about? Am I crazy? Or are the discussions between these two guys not on the same channel at all? I just want to be quiet and be a melon eater. Isn't that nice? What? I think so. I was wronged and I didn't know anything. Tony was pulled over and said with an embarrassed look on his face. I don't even know who the other person's parents are, so how could I kill them? How could you not know? The weapon that killed my father was made by Stark. Seeing her enemy, Wanda couldn't help but snorted and glared at Tony. At the same time, Origin magic power is activated in his hand, and a wave of energy sweeps over Tony, making you so scared that you quickly dodge. Humph. Seeing Tony hide away, Wanda didn't say anything. And is that father your biological child? Su Chen continued to ask. After all, there are two versions of whether Wanda's father is Magneto. One is yes and the other is not. We still need to find out more to avoid any own incidents. Well, Hydra, it's not weird to do anything. Maybe he's his biological child. This was Quicksilver's sudden and uncertain words. Wanda looked at her brother in her arms and asked a series of questions. Quicksilver, what are you talking about? Why do you suspect that your father is not your biological father? Quicksilver said awkwardly, well, we are actually mutants, right? But it seems that neither father nor mother has the X gene. You must know that unless it is a mutation, it is rare that the parents are not mutants, but the children are indeed mutants. Only if one parent is a mutant, the probability of children born being mutants is high. Quicksilver secretly read the information and knew that neither of his parents was a mutant, not even a carrier of the X gene, not a recessive gene. So it might be a misunderstanding. Tony quickly explained. You have no place to talk. Even if they are not biological, they are adoptive parents. If they are killed by a bomb, you have to take responsibility. Su Chen didn't wait for Tony to refute. But it's true that Wanda and Quicksilver's dad is indeed Magneto. But back then, Magneto was ruthless and disappeared after a stormy night. As a result, Wanda's mother found out that she was pregnant, and Magneto fell in love with his good friend, the professor, at this time. As a result, Wanda's mother could not find anyone. It's just that Magneto was so charming back then and he wanted to keep a seed. Due to the pressure of life, I had no choice but to find an honest man, get married, and take over. Hey, I seem to have found something interesting in the database of this base. It's very interesting. I think you will be very interested in it. Su Chen took advantage of Wanda to think for a moment. While chatting, Su Chen successfully invaded Hydra's system and found some very interesting things in the secret files inside. While Wanda was looking at everyone thinking with suspicion, Su Chen immediately used the Void Engine to project a virtual screen in the air, with dense information about the two siblings floating on it. A piece of top-secret information about Wanda and Quicksilver appears in front of them. The general content of it is that Baron Strucker was on a trip and accidentally discovered Shishin and Quicksilver, who had mutant ability. After returning to the base, he quietly checked the information of the two people. It was discovered that the parents of the mutant brothers and sisters were actually ordinary people. Judging from their experience, the father of the brothers and sisters was probably Magneto. Who is Magneto? In that era, Magneto was the person who stood at the top of mutant people, who can openly challenge the government. In their eyes, if Magneto knew a little bit about politics, the Earth would have been in an era where he was the master of the world. Since they are Magneto's species, children carrying his genes are also extraordinary. So he planned to bring the war to the home of Wanda and her family of 4, CHBG. And in order to escape, they also threw cannonballs engraved with the history of Stark Industries into their homes. At that time, because it was the first shell and the reaction was not timely, the father and mother who were at the core of the explosion were killed on the spot, while Quicksilver and Wanda were killed because of their super ability Kyuzu's precise calculations. Survived. The second cannonball landed accurately, but did not detonate. The Stark Industries logo could be clearly seen on it. This is why the siblings hate Tony so much. Later, the siblings were picked up by Baron Strucker. Soon, Baron Strucker relied on his superb acting skills and the brainwashing of the Nine Heads to successfully lure the two siblings into the Hydra organization. After detecting that Wanda might have psychic abilities, Baron Strucker gritted his teeth and even erased his own memory. Then he killed everyone involved in the plan and sealed the files. Every time after reading the information, you have to go through the pain of cleaning your memory. How should I put it? As expected of Hydra, not only is it cruel to others, but it is even more cruel to itself. It's impossible. Baron Strucker is so nice to us. How could? The crimson energy on Wanda suddenly exploded, and the terrifying energy suddenly exploded, almost destroying everything around her. Wanda's mental power went out of control, and the Avengers, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, the Widow's sister, and others around her covered their heads and screamed on the ground. Not even his younger brother was spared. Child, can you calm down? I see you, don't be sad. Suddenly a voice came from Wanda's mind. The city of Manhattan is being re-established on the other side. The key members of the X-Men, led by Charles, Beast, Phoenix, Female Cyclops, and Storm, are waiting in the secret laboratory in the city. I found this kind of people, and they are very strong. Charles looked at the newly formed mutant behind him and smiled slightly. Now Professor X has basically formed a new team. Although the staff still hasn't changed much, at least Mystique is back to help him. Moreover, Mystique also has the contact information of his good gay friend, and Magneto is just a phone call away. Charles has not deliberately hidden any trace of mutants since the founding of the city. It seems that with a contract, they can walk on the street openly without violating the law. Tell the world we are mutants. Charles is so confident. Charles experienced the charm of money for the first time. Charles used his telepathy ability to try to appease the white man in his heart. Only then did he realize that this man's power was not inferior to Chin. Completely surpassing himself in terms of potential, he can't even invade Wanda's deeper spiritual world. I said, is it appropriate for you to dig in front of me like this? At this time, Su Chen came over and walked up to Wanda. Su Chen touched Wanda's head with his hand, and by the way, he was connected to Charles. Charles dares to be angry but dare not speak out. This is mutant. Well, for mutant, touching mutant is equivalent to poaching Charles's corner. And these are the children of his good friend. My good friends don't distinguish between you and me. If you calculate it, they are equivalent to your own children. How is this possible? It's appropriate, quite appropriate. I won't disturb you anymore. You're busy. I'll ask Chin to give you some new specialties from our Academy City later. After Charles finished speaking, he quickly logged off. Went to find Mystique and contact Magneto. Baron Strucker was inside the base watching what was happening outside. Oops, exposed. Now only Ultron relies on the ground of the base. One of Ultron's bodies came out. Although this Ultron was just born, he was very satisfied with his new body. I glanced at Baron Strucker and saw Baron Strucker looking anxious. Frail humans. After saying that, he reached out his hand to Baron Strucker's head. Ultron, what are you doing? Baron Strucker panicked. It seems that only at this time did Baron Strucker realize that he did not have the means to control Ultron. When the other party said it was an artificial intelligence developed by himself, he believed it. What happened to myself? Why didn't I review it? Why can't I see such an obvious trap? It seems you are of no use anymore. Ultron and Baron Strucker looked at each other, and Ultron could see endless fear in Baron Strucker's eyes. Thank you for preparing your body for me. I would have prepared grand fireworks for you as your closing ceremony, but it seemed that the fireworks were not enough. I had no choice but to give up. Ultron is talking about Big Ivan, but due to the previous apocalypse incident, the fireworks in the world have been empty. Although many more have been developed, the number is still far behind compared to before. Is there anything else you want to say? The father of my body. Bang. Before Ultron could finish speaking, the Baron shot Ultron and spit on him. I have no last words, I can only say goodbye, my father. Ultron said this before squeezing the Baron's neck. Hydra was originally born by borrowing other people's eggs, but now it has become someone else's nourishment. I have to say this is a huge amount of irony. On this side, Su Chen held down Wanda's head to straighten her somewhat distorted spirit. The people under this strong mental pressure were finally liberated. Slowly got up from the ground. Did she let off steam just now? The captain said to Tony. Maybe, but I feel like she didn't have much waterproofing when she hit me. Otherwise, how could she knock me outside in one fell swoop? Fortunately, Su Chen is mentally strong and managed to deal with Wanda in the end. Let him fall asleep successfully. Su Chen picked up Wanda and opened a portal and threw him onto Su Chen's bed in Holy Place, New York. Have a good rest and I will teach you magic later. Before Quicksilver could enter, the portal closed. That's my sister. I suspect you are coveting my sister's beauty. I want to take her away. You are holding a hostage. What are you talking about? Don't think so much, I just think he has high magic ability. Quicksilver obviously didn't believe Su Chen's explanation. His sister was so beautiful that if she didn't die from too many orthopedic patients, he would even try to break her legs. Long time no see. Everyone. Not far away from all this, a humanoid creature with a body exuding metallic light appeared in front of everyone. Interrupted the friendly exchange between Su Chen and Quicksilver. Looking at this metallic robot, Su Chen couldn't help but sigh. Brother, is Colossus from X-Men your brother? RT. Ultron looked at this body that was covered in metallic luster. It did look a bit like Colossus in X-Men. At this time, Su Chen suddenly thought of Magneto next door, whose magnetic control was amazing. But Su Chen is not a vegetarian. Su Chen has the ability to use electric shock. Electricity to magnetism is an unchanging truth across the world. So he used the electroshock user's ability to convert electricity into magnetism in an attempt to control the Ultron robot in front of him. Why Magneto hits Wolverine is like a father hitting his son. It's because Wolverine's body contains this precious metal, and it's something Magneto can control. How could a robot not have metal matter? Obviously Ultron's entire body is made of metal and alloys. Isn't that basically like a father beating his son? Sorry, I should probably remind you that the main material used in my latest improved material is carbon nanostructure, which can be used to isolate magnetic field control. The remaining metal structures are also non-magnetic metals. Tony said with an embarrassed look on his face, and looking at Su Chen's gloomy face. Tony, who was about to cry without tears, hurriedly explained. Don't be angry. This armor is really not used to protect you. I'm only using it to protect against Magneto's magnetic field control. Yes, it's just a normal upgrade. When Tony caught Su Chen's eyes, he suddenly trembled. This is actually a small design in the designed anti-Su Chen armor. It was designed by analyzing Su Chen's combat situation. Electromagnetic. No separation. You are prepared for anything, right? Besides, I believe that except for Thor, everyone on Earth probably knows that controlling electricity is equivalent to controlling magnetism. One day he knew that playing with his own hammer was not Loki's. Even if you don't develop your own abilities properly, if Tony had such abilities, Tony would probably be a god by now. Do you still need to avoid the Avengers alliance? At that time it was no longer the Avengers alliance, it was the Women's Alliance with only him as a male. In the end, Ultron plagiarized his genius idea. Also, this is not an anti-Su Chen armor, this is an anti-Magneto armor. Don't remember wrong. That's right, it's such a loss. Cut. He doesn't know Tony's little thoughts yet. This guy is just like the old DC Bat, he has a persecution delusion syndrome. It feels like everyone in the world wants to harm you, and you always like to do annoying things. Tony's performance is like armor that protects anyone he sees. It is commonly said that whoever defends against will be disarmed. If you don't use magnetism, you don't need magnetism. It's not that there are no other means. I just want to solve it easily so as not to hurt the relationship with the Earth Lord again, which is not good. Tony, who retreated, finally breathed a sigh of relief, but the half-anti-Su Chen armor had not been fully developed yet. It seemed that Ultron had already helped him improve it. Go back and learn about Ultron's technology. Can the work of scientists be called free prostitution? That is called learning from others. The blue light in Su Chen's hand flashed, shielding all surrounding letters and all nearby machines. At the same time, Su Chen's ability instantly covers the whole world through the internet. Is the Earth's supercomputer awesome? But he didn't meet the celestial computer. The celestial computer can defeat the world's computers by mobilizing even 1/1,000,000th of its computing power. It's nothing to limit Ultron by just relying on computing power. Artificial intelligence is very strong on the internet, but it does not have a strong foundation. If the celestial computer is used as the host, wouldn't Lishwang be able to block the killing of God? You said Ultron won't attack Skyblade 7. Did you think Icarus grew up eating motor oil? So Su Chen easily blocked the port between Ultron and the online world. What is this? Ultron couldn't help but said in horror at the moment. He could feel that he could no longer contact the internet. It means that he has no way out. If he dies in this mechanical body, that is the real death. In addition to Ultron's mechanical body, which can barely compete with its physical advantages, it shows a general trend of crushing in the online world. Ability that showed no resistance. He had seen Su Chen's ability before, but it had never been so powerful before. Why is he so strong now? Is it some female robot helping him? If I kill you then you won't be able to run away, right? Su Chen smiled and looked at the robot in front of him. Ultron should have been restricted by looking around, but since the mind gem was in Su Chen's hand, Ultron couldn't grab it. This led to the failure of Pancho to be born. In the end, the task of limiting Ultron can only be left to Su Chen. Today's Ultron is like a child in the rebellious stage. He walks around Guangluo with his mobile phone all day long and learns knowledge about the internet evolution. Now Su Chen's behavior is like a parent who suddenly snatched his mobile phone and gave away his internet cable. It feels like an addicted drug addict without cigarettes. For Ultron, it's a state of mind explosion. It had only been a few seconds since the internet was disconnected that Ultron's mentality completely exploded. He became anxious, irritable and full of uneasiness. I am going to kill you. It seems that Ultron's internet addiction is quite serious. Now he is hallucinating. He needs to get an internet addiction package for Ultron. Are you planning to get a package from the King of Thunder, or are you going to get a game voice actor package from my mother? In all my life, I have never seen such an arrogant robot. Su Chen looked at Ultron in front of him with disdain, and couldn't see that he had any ability to kill himself. Don't robot fights all depend on the success rate? Why are you just messing around now? Hey, maybe this little robot hasn't seen the beatings from society yet. Just show him. Tony stepped forward to join in the fun. Obviously he already knew Su Chen's operation. This Ultron has been restrained. However, Ultron's unruly heart didn't care about this. The metal skin on his body began to surge and seemed to turn into a scale-like substance. My colleague's face suddenly split open, imitating the attack method of the Asgard destroyer. A crimson-red energy ray rushed towards Tony. But Su Chen instantly blocked the impact with the magic shield in his hand. It seems that its power is not inferior to the destroyer controlled by Loki. And it seems that there is something else mixed in that makes him stronger. Ultron, you seem to have some private affairs, but I don't want to play too many tricks with you now. Unnecessary. After saying that, Su Chen's eyes narrowed. At the same time, Icarus was instantly connected in my mind. Release computing power permissions. Connect to Tianren number 7. Connecting. Connected successfully. Start the void engine. Enter the dark plane. Enter the control panel. Analyze the target. Target mechanical life form. Create a void barrier. Elementary level defines matter. High level concept rewrites. Start the final ruling. Lock the target. Building concepts. Anti-light energy, anti-dark energy, anti-bioenergy, anti-electric energy. Definition complete. Suddenly a golden barrier appeared around Ultron's body. Ultron looked confused. Is there a move I haven't seen before? Why does a magician have so many skills? Doesn't the magician rely on a fireball to conquer the world? Even though Ultron was confused, he could only watch now, and kept tapping the golden barrier in his hand. The mask on his head opened again, preparing to shoot out powerful rays. But no matter how much energy I mobilize, my body doesn't respond at all. Oops. Operator. Suddenly a big sword condensed from the sky, carrying the power of thunder, and the dazzling golden light extended to thousands of meters in an instant. It can almost split the sky with ease. Launch initiates final ruling. Target. Ultron duplication. Cut. The big sword in the sky suddenly fell times. The sword energy generated by the remaining power cut the surrounding mountains in half. Boom. Ultron was holding on tightly with both hands in the void barrier. Create Loki's endless loop and suppress the target's thinking. I can't understand, what on earth is this? The target is using mechanical energy to resist. Anti-mechanical energy. Conceptual extrusion. Settlement of structural matter. Resolve target 0%. 0.100%. Boom. Although the process is complicated, in reality it only takes a moment. The big sword easily sliced through the night sky and dissipated. All that's left is Ultron's body. Recruit big troops to make up for the small soldiers, and quit internet addiction. This operation is also perfect. Please like and subscribe.